everyone, and welcome to another episode of By the Numbers, the quintessential Counterstrike podcast. We've been holding down the fort as Aragorn, no longer Thorin. He's been out there, he's been communing with the spirits and regenerating, and now he's ready to resume his role as the true king of podcasts in esports. How are you doing?
Not bad. I saw that you had Anders, you had fucking Yanko.
Yeah.
Not bad. Trying
Some
to
of the lowest rated episodes.
As usual, you know, just following my trail, trying to copy whatever I do. Listen, mate, I don't go and just do a shit job coaching a fucking team with a mate of mine for 2 years. Do I? Like, I've had some fucking self-respect. No, of course, they all did a good job, I thought, pretty much. I noticed Anders, by the way, on his, like, I saw part of the end of it, and it's like, the problem with Anders is he's the sort of nutter who's actually just like, yeah, I'm up for just talking for 3 hours about anything. Like, so he'll never end if you have a show with Anders.
No, but that was the thing, because I was like, you know, he's obviously been so generous with his time, you know, and I'm like, right, we'll wrap this up in 2 hours.
It's just runtime. What the fuck?
Yeah, I know. And he was like, when we were doing the questions, you know, like we get like, you know, because we've got absolute melts, haven't we? As like the people, some of the questions. And, you know, and it comes like, what's your favorite dinosaur or whatever, you know, and fucking Anders is there. Oh, yes, well, you know, of course, structurally. And then, you know, talking about fucking genetics with the pugs for 20 minutes. It's like, this guy's out of control. The mad thing is, we had like a load of DMs after that show. You and Anders should totally have a podcast together, which, by the way, mate, wicked idea on the one hand. On the other hand, that's going to get...
People think this is a joke. He'd be way worse than I am for time.
He'd be cancelled instantly.
Because the worst thing about Anders is this. I sort of know I'm going up to the edge when I make a comment. Yeah. Anders just sort of blunders through, like, well, come on through. So anyway, this is what I think about, like, drops like an insane... What are you doing? Like...
Yeah. So, like, I'm like, I can't even be associated with that. But, I mean, you know, you already fucked up by talking about the dreaded cough, didn't he?
I fucking saw that. No, it's like, Anders, this is the internet. There's no nuance, mate. Like, you can't even say it.
He's like replying to people going, yes, but as you can see, due to clotting issues, I was advised. And everyone's going, you're an anti-vaxxer. You're an It's like, mate, just stay away from the cough. You can't talk about it. Just stay away from it. Fucking dodge it. Anyway, God bless him. They tied down the fort, but I must say, it's good to have you back. And let's see if we can get through yet another 2.5 hours of talking about Counterstrike without getting absolutely fucking wrecked for no reason.
I actually do feel as though some of the shit that's like I dropped that news in the fucking chat earlier. It's like, why is there just like Mikhail and Ion news just coming out of nowhere? They're ready for my return, aren't they? The universe is ready.
Well, listen, I felt really bad talking about the ESL Pro League without you, because obviously there was all that device drama.
Oh yes,
and I just pictured you like on a beach somewhere, like looking up like at your phone and seeing it and going like, God damn it, you know, you missed your opportunity for the ultimate roast. Patrice O'Neill levels of roasting going on. But maybe we'll talk about that on the show. I mean, I'll be honest, news-wise, we might have to recycle some of the stuff to get your opinions and hot takes. Now, before we even set it up, obviously I've been a busy bee while you've been away, working on bringing sponsors in and all of that stuff. So we've got another sponsor to talk about. You can see it's got Prime. Great job, by the way, Sam, putting them there. Right. Giving them equal billing with our names. Fantastic stuff. And that is, of course, first of all, our VPN sponsor, Nordvpn. You know about them. We love them. I think it's been like a year now. It's been great working with them. It's a great product. Really happy about it. You get like 74% off. Go to nordvpn.com/RLS. And trust me, without getting into the politics cul-de-sac, there's shit going on right now in America. Get a VPN. That's all you don't want to be browsing certain popular forums and posting things at the moment. You know, your honest thoughts. You don't want to be doing that. So get a VPN if you are gonna, if you feel compelled. And of course, our new hardware sponsor for the show, SteelSeries, an absolutely amazing company that make amazing stuff. I'm using all of their gear. They sent me like a care package, and they've released a new, this apparently is going to be hugely popular, the Prime Mini Wireless. Loads of people wanted that. So if you want to get yourself 10% off, all you have to do is type SteelSeries into the Nightbot. Use my name, no space, 10% off any SteelSeries stuff in the store. And if you do that, obviously, the more we sell, the more likely they are to come back. So if you were thinking about donating, hell, it might even go so far as to say save a bit of your Patreon money and get yourself a mouse or whatever, so we can hit that target and keep them rolling, moving forward. Anyway, great to have them on board, and that's that. Right. Oh, one other thing, and I know you'll appreciate this, Duncan. I usually don't promote my own content on my own content because some might say that's like demented.
This is going to be the Astral piece. I can
already Oh yeah. But and it's relevant to CS, honestly, if you get into it, right? So for those who missed it, right, that Hastro, about once a year, he comes down from his ivory tower. He's up there counting the money that he's scraped off the top of all of his failed venture capital enterprises. You know, like, look at me, I'm in the Overwatch League. Yeah, brilliant. You just lost people a lot of money by signing up to this. Well done. Anyway, what he likes to do, old Hastro, is he likes to argue with the journalist. It's kind of reminiscent of the film Man Bites Dog, if you've ever seen that. That's a film about a serial killer, and he says, when interviewed, I like to start the month with a postman. He has an irrational hatred of them. Now, that guy is actually more charismatic and fun to be around than Hastro. And he did it again. This was his annual fucking trip to the embarrassment Olympics, and it was predicated on two things. The first thing was that he had declared, and I know as an esports historian, you must love this, he declared Envious to be the most successful roster for FPS, the most successful org for FPS games in the history of esports. That was his declaration.
People don't know is basically like by the way, like any definition, the first thing you would need to do exactly is that you'd have to actually ask, how are you defining, for example, success? How are you defining, I mean, the keyword there's FPS. Notice he doesn't just come out and go, we're the greatest in, like, you know, COD, we're the greatest in Counterstrike. He says FPS, right? So the problem with that is, as far as I know, he's taking, like, the one major from CS and a bunch of, like, trophies, adding it to whatever the fuck they did in COD, where I believe there was a couple of years they were like pretty good, then probably taking some other fucking game I'm not even aware of. I'm sure he counts Overwatch before it became the Overwatch League, and his team was like the best West into. So you see how tenuous I'm already getting with it. Like, meanwhile, here's the problem with that statement. If I was to say, for example, Fnatic, SK Gaming, you know, teams like this, you don't even need to go like, well, Thorin, where are you going to get all the champions? They've got fucking like 10, 20 years in some of these games. Like, they've just built roster after roster after roster after, like, mate, that's the problem with it. Anytime someone goes on that, it's like, if anyone doesn't know, all multi-year orgs, half the fucking scam for the last 15 years has been anytime you're not winning in the big game, you just go into a tiny game and just get the best team there and go, championship's a championship. Like, I've got the best Rocket League player. It's like, listen, that's cool unless I have like for example, I'll give you an example. G2's League of Legends team in 2019 was arguably the second best team in the world, if not the best team in the world, right? But if they come second at Worlds and you go, yeah, but I actually won Worlds in Rocket League, it's like that scale doesn't fucking work like that, and they all play that game. So the problem I have is, like, maybe by the most tenuous possible fucking definition, they could maybe be the one who'd won like the most number of games and over like a set number, but like, that is far from the title he is claiming it as, because he's almost claiming it like it's fucking obvious, you know. And I would also suggest there's probably some fuckery. Like, for example, I'm sorry, mate, I don't give a fuck about Call of Duty, so you can win all the championship you want in that game. It's a little kid's
don't worry, he's not winning any championships there either.
I heard they're not the best in that game anymore, are they? Exactly.
No, it's Dallas Empire now, of course. The VC money and the Faustian Pact with Activision Blizzard demands.
Literally Empire. Dallas Empire.
You
almost sound anyway, if you don't win, if you got your team that, you know, some would say.
So anyway, you know, he was doing that. And he said
a few times with it. So that's sort of his go-to humble brag or something, you know.
Yeah. And he said, fact check me. So there's a guy called Note. We've talked about him a few times. Good journalist, senior features writer over at HLTV. Used to be the guy sort of propping up Just2.us, but there's a lot more to him than that. He's a real cool guy. Also, by the way, one of the coalition of journalists that have worked tirelessly this last year on uncovering things for the match in the match fixing scene to share with ESIC for the purposes of their investigation. Something for which he will receive absolutely no public credit, because we're all waiting on ESIC to drop the bombs before we write up any stories. So anyway, he fact-checked. Astro asked to be fact-checked, and a journalist fact-checked him. And I can actually bring you the tweets if you want.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Yeah, because I did keep them specifically. They're all in the article, but obviously I did my research. But basically, the long story short was, Note said, well, what the fuck have you been doing in CS? You've basically let Nifty, because he fucking licks your ass, run it, and because he beat you once at a tournament when he was a kid in 2013. You've let him run your fucking CS org into the ground. Astro just teed off, and it was just like completely like it was a response that just wasn't warranted. He called Note a cockroach. He said crawl back into your CS Roach motel, which isn't just calling this guy a cockroach. It's also implying that CS is like some sort of vermin filled,
like the slums or something, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. Which, by the way, it's not vermin filled anymore. Well, it's less vermin filled because we got rid of all the Call of Duty guys that ran fucking dodgy casinos, didn't we? You all fucked off as soon as the lawsuits dropped. So let's not get into the whole vermin comparisons. But then on top of that, after that, he upgraded him to a weasel. So he was just embarrassingly attacking a journalist publicly for simply doing what he'd asked anyone to do because of his towering hubris. And then it doesn't even end there. There was a clip doing the rounds, which I know you saw because you retweeted it. And it was a journalist at a press conference. Let me get the journalist's name so I don't skirt over. I like to give credit for good work. Mikhail Clementoff, an editor at the Washington Post, a student a student of journalism. I think he was like a dean at his university. He's no slouch, knows what he's doing. And he got up while Envy were all high-fiving for beating Sentinels, the best team in Valorant, and basically said, look, I don't want to dampen the mood, so I apologize. He prefaced the question, and he said, but there are a lot of rumors circulating, about match fixing, and some of your squad have been named in it. And we were just wondering if you had any contingency plans for a roster move. Now, that just wouldn't even be an outrageous question in sports. It would just be like, I'm not saying they'd answer it, but when you ask a question, it's not about the answer a lot of the times. You have a job to do. Yes. How they react to that job is very often irrelevant. But I'm doing my job.
They can obviously say, in case people don't know, they can obviously just say no comment. But as Richard says, you do the due diligence of asking the question, you give them the chance. I thought, by the way, here's what's hilarious. This is how you know who actually understands match fixing. It's a fucking crime. It is a crime. Some of you should literally be going to prison. That is the world we live in. You just won't be, because that's how pathetic the world is, that esports just isn't considered big enough yet. But basically,
it's linguistic loopholes, essentially.
You can tell the people who don't get it's a crime. Because when these players reacted, they essentially guffawed and sort of like, oh, what are you doing? And got all flabbergasted and, again, didn't understand to just say no comment, right? And I saw people who don't know about it who were sort of just going, like, why is he asking that question? No, it's the other way around. It was embarrassing as fuck, the reaction of these players. Because here's what the reaction actually looked like. It looked like all of their arseholes went, and they just thought, well, fuck. We obviously do have match fixers in our team. And in fact, here's the real secret that I've learned over this match fixing debacle. It's worse than the coaching bug one. Because for the coaching bug one, we had the demos, we could catch them all. Here's what I found in the MDL thing. I suspect all of them did it. There's my fucking thoughts on it. I think what happened is it was riddled in that fucking scene. And I think even people who became tier 1 pros potentially were involved, or were only a year removed, or maybe they did a bit of that dabbling years and years ago before anyone was even on the trail. Because that's the vibe I've got from players, mate. Because I think about this, right? It's not that it's not that you are compelled to say you're innocent, right? That's not the way the standard works. I'll just say this. The kinds of people who are CSGO pros, when they are totally innocent and someone's fucked them, they can't shut the fuck up. They can't get away from a Twitter keyboard, Richard. So the idea they have nothing to say is so conspicuous with these people's track record. These are the kind of people where if they're the 7th best team in the world and ESL's inviting the top 6 teams, they'll argue to the ends of the earth that they were the 6th best team, again, the most petty things they will blow up and use all their audience for. for. So the idea, like these Envy players, it was treated as if it was either a laughable question or they literally were scared shitless to say a word. Because as I said on Twitter, to me, it's very simple. I would just say, yeah, I'm very saddened to hear about the match fix. And thankfully, me and my teammates weren't involved. But you know what? They couldn't have said that last part of the sentence. Because actually, if you look into it, it's not looking fucking good for one of those players at least.
No, definitely not. The idea this question should be out of limits is so asinine. The idea that this is, they even said, does anyone have a Valorant related question? It's definitely a Valorant related question, you sub 80 IQ cretins, right? Because it will directly pertain to what type of Valorant lineup you're able to field in future, because your team owner has said he will drop anyone found guilty regardless of game. So it is very Valorant related, isn't it?
Sure.
You fucking morons. So anyway,
yeah, dude, one thing I think's wild as well is, listen, I actually go back and forth because these are areas that are obviously like very grey areas. There's no set precedent for what you do in certain cases, and more importantly, I don't claim to be an expert on like defrauding people, etc., and whatever you classify match fixing as. So I myself try and still sort of like figure out where do I go on this. So I'm not entirely sure as like an absolute principle that like Riot Games should have to necessarily police the game and, you know, for things they've done in other games. Like there's a world where I go back and forth. But my problem is this. I personally think it is utterly two-faced to be the company Riot Games is and have presented yourself as a company who literally, quote-unquote, make the players into better people. Better fucking people. If you're going to say that and then let people just walk over who have literally committed crimes, and by the way, I'm sure there's even worlds where, you know, it's like across federal lines, and like, mate, there's all sorts of shit you could throw the book up with these guys. The idea they can just waltz into your game and that's considered fine, that they can just be pros, especially when these are like, some of these are active investigations from like a year or two ago, like last year. Like, it's not when they were talking 10 years ago. So I find that kind of fucked up, because this is the same Riot Games who ban you for a year from competitive play if your I will dominate, and you make fun of a skin in a fucking light-hearted manner in an office one day. Like, that can't be the standard. You've got to have, like, if you're going to be those people, be those people. Be the ones who enforce the fucking
let me go one further, because as I said, I'm dropping the nukes. I don't give a fuck. I haven't written this much since I was a student. I've done, you can probably tell, but I got eyes at piss holes in the snow at the moment. I've been up all night working. I've done 12,000, maybe 13,000 words in 3 days. And I'm, as you saw from the joking I buy power tweet I put out, I've been in the dead man's drive. I'm going to pull it all, because here's some fucking things that everyone needs to think about. First of all, in 2015, right? In 2016, it was leaked all over ESEA forums that there were throws and fixes and there was these people involved. And at no point did ESEA conduct any investigations, nor did they contact the players who leaked these screenshots and chat logs directly, nor did they ban any of the players that were supposedly involved, including one screenshot that's just so beyond incriminating, it's ridiculous. Now, in 2017, I gained access to lots of private posts from a private forum called Inner Circle. And Inner Circle was the original betting ring in North America. It started out with good intentions. It was a place for hardcore gamblers to share information. Who had an upset stomach the night before? Whose girlfriend had just broke up with them, etc., etc. How to get an inside edge on the betting. But over time, when greed took over, suddenly there was a private forum opened. I've got screenshots of that. Suddenly, there were pros that you could get to around the world that would talk in code a lot of the time, saying, oh, yeah, I think you should bet on us tonight, wink, wink. And these were fixes and throws. And this was leaked by a whistleblower, one of the same whistleblowers, by the way, who helped me drag the I Buy Power story over the line. So his information is legitimate, whatever you think. And these were leaked publicly, and ESEA did nothing then. We fast forward to 2018, where ESEA banned 3 players, and two players. It was Cardiac, Effie's, and it was the cast the Strong Legs, right? You remember that in 2018. Yes. They did that because the gambling site noticed a player had got a family member to bet on them with the same surname. And so they reached out to ESEA and said, we've got this cluster of bets, and they were betting on their own matches, and the results all went the way of the bets. Strong Legs was the caster. He denied it. said he wanted to look into suing it. He reached out to me going, Richard, you know about libel and defamation law? I said, mate, I'll tell you this to your face. I think you're fucked and I think you did it. Right? So I'll help you find a lawyer if you really want, but I think you're nailed on guilty. Surprise, surprise, he didn't follow up on that one. So anyway, that there was the worst thing they could have done. And you're going to say, why? They banned match fixes. That proves they were on it. They only got those match fixes because a company came to them and said, these people have done the most obvious, stupid type of fix you could possibly do. And you know what that was? That was the accelerator button for all the shit we've got now. Because you effectively announced we are not actively policing any match fixing in ESEA. And I have got testimony and interviews and players who are going to let me name them, and they self-incriminate in match fixes. It's all ready to go, guys. I'm talking 50, 60 hours of recording. It's all coming because I'm not playing anymore. This is fucking so dumb and so stupid that the people behind ESEA have turned a blind eye for fucking 6 years when we know from court documents they used to use the anti-cheat to spy on people's chat just for fucking shits and giggles. So the idea they couldn't have shut down match fixing rings is absolutely fucking staggering. Staggering to me. And I'll tell you another thing. When these players decided, right, let's cut the ripcord and float down to Valorant Island, where we definitely can't be got at, right? Loads of those orgs came to me and said, Richard, we're thinking about recruiting player X. What can you tell us about him? Should we do it? And I said to those orgs, don't touch this player, don't touch that player. That's all I'm willing to say, but you should trust me. Many did, because I've earned that trust. I have that credibility. Many didn't. Many were looking for validation and went and did what they were doing anyway. But what got some of these blatantly guilty match fixers into teams in Valorant was Riot were conducting their own investigations, and all of these organizations that signed these players seem utterly convinced Riot have cleared them. Riot have cleared them for what? How would you know? How would you know what they did in CSGO? How would you make
reaching out to CSGO people? Did they ever do it?
Absolute fucking nonsense. So it's absolute fucking nonsense what's gone on over there, because those same orgs that told me to stick it up my arse are telling me now that Riot have actually said it's okay to use this player. Nah, this is all bollocks, mate. This is a fucking house of cards. You're watching. I don't think people realize the level of sophistication this was going at. This was cryptocurrency. This was encrypted communications. This was Telegram conversations. This had ties to international crime syndicates in multiple fucking continents. This wasn't just a bunch of kids trying to make some pocket money. They went deep on this shit. It cannot be allowed to pass. And so if I have to write it all up as it was and people don't want to believe it, fine. I guess I was a liar. But I am sick of playing to a rule book written by morons that don't understand journalism. And that is the esports rule book. And the esports rule book says that you must... One little detail, one misspelled sentence, your whole story's bogus. You get anything wrong or you jump the gun, it's all bogus. No other journalist no other field of journalism, certainly not politics, you might have noticed, operates to that standard. Think about heralded journalistic works, Moneyball, which ignore deliberate context to tell the sporting story it wanted to take, ignoring inconvenient truths to cherry pick the facts. And everybody loves that shit, and it gets made into movies. Over here in esports, everyone lives in fear of telling the truth, because if there's one little detail they can pick apart, you, the moron fans at home, will absolutely lap it up and turn on the journalist. And I am on the precipice of watching really bad people get away with doing really bad things. Not for me. No. And so with that in mind, Hastro was the final domino in my brain. And you can go and read this article, and I urge you to spread it around. It's called Requiem for a Melt, which is the only word appropriate to describe Hastro. It's on a blog site called Wicked Good Gaming. I didn't want to put it on Deserto because Hastro has a conspiracy theory that because he's not as popular as Hector, and Hector owns like 3% of Deserto, any press we write about him is like some sort of mad convol. This guy's poisoned his own brain with his vanity and fucking deluded narcissism, surrounded by sycophants all day. So spread it around. It's relevant to CS. It's relevant to Valorant. This guy going after journalists that are trying to clean up a scene he only wants to profit from. And I'll tell you this, he's not even here in 3 years. He's literally doing something else, counting his money, you know, greasing palms in Texas. Stop pretending like you give a fuck, mate. Stop pretending it was just so you can rule the ashes. Fuck you. Absolutely.
I did think it was mad out of pocket the way he was talking to Nort. Because the thing is, if people don't know, I myself, if this was like a year ago, would go, doesn't he get how bad like the optics are? Like that looks terrible. Like you just look like you think you're some fucking robber baron saying to some peasant, like, get the fuck off my land, who are you? Like, but here's the thing I've learned. This is Astro's problem, mate. He's in the world of COD, and that is how I can tell you from personal experience. That's the level COD is on. COD is, forget esports being high school. COD's like year one of high school, where when the cool kid goes, yeah, no, you, everyone goes, oh shit! It's like that video, Super Hot Fire. Yeah. Oh my God, he's done you! And you go, that's what he didn't even say anything. And then the joke is, you're not popular, so you lose, and the popular guy wins every time. And he waltzes off with the cheerleader and goes, fucking wrecked him again, boys. That's what they're like in COD. The sad thing is, what he reminds me of at the moment, mate, is when Alex Garfield at the turn of the 2010s was doing this sort of shit, where everything was just about how Slasher like isn't allowed to break a news story about my org because wouldn't it be cool if like essentially this is not a joke, fans. People like Alex Garfield were just openly pondering, like, maybe journalism just shouldn't exist as a field, and he should just be allowed to, like, never have any leaks about any moves he's making when he signed, like, the biggest Korean player in the world. And we should all just have to wait as though it was, like, a movie presentation for his version of the official launch story. Even though, as I imply, it's not even like it's just Slash. It's anyone who's a journalist could get that information. Like, what it shows is these
so many people who went along with that idea as well in esports.
Because there were so many people in their circle. These people get to a level where they've just got so much money and power relative to esports. They actually start to think that they like rule the fucking world or something. And you just want to tell them, listen, mate, if there's one field in this world, I know it does a terrible job of it now because everyone's politically partisan, but if there's one field that's almost invented to slap you in your motherfucking face with a wet fish and wake you up, it's journalism.
My read on it is like, because, you mean, you know, the Hastro's involvement with his project is an illusion, effectively. He's nowhere near as involved as he used to be. And, you know, there are lots of rumors that, you know, you might be seeing that Envy and Optic are going to merge, you know, and at which point
yes.
I'd fully expect that might be a swan song moment, to be honest. But anyway, regardless of that, right, the reality is with people like him, they're just so fucking wrapped up in having to be right all of the time and right publicly, and they take it on themselves to be the face of things they're not even the face of anymore. And I think in this instance, I think people behind the scenes, like the money men, the actual investors, have said, mate, you can't keep making us look like a cunt. You can't keep isolating yourself from journalists, because trust me, there's a new breed of journalists coming through in esports. It's great to see. A lot of them are trained. A lot of them know what they're doing. A lot of them actually are coming into this space with a set of nuts. And you'll know them because they're not holding a fucking microphone and laughing along with players, right? There's actual reporters here, and there's actual news outlets that, despite all the problems the US media is having, were at one point at least a newspaper, a record, etc. So I think he's been told, because he did apologize, but it's like the boy who cried wolf, mate. I've heard these apologies a million times. I can't abide it anymore. You just need to get out. Just go away. You don't really care about anything except having your shine. And here's the reality. Your org's never going to be the best org. You're never going to be the most popular, charismatic, and likable person. You became the exact shit you told me over drinks, Mike, that you fucking hated when you first came into CS and we met. And we sat down and you were trying to be that new wave of owner. Remember, we had these talks. You were there too, Duncan. Gfinity, remember it? What was Hastro saying? I want to be a beacon to show players you don't have to kowtow to tyrannous owners, that you can own your shit, make your shit, build your shit, change the esports paradigm, that you don't have to wear a suit, you don't have to be buttoned up, you don't have to bow down to sponsors, you can be authentic. What a fucking absolute fall from grace, mate.
I'll throw this out there as well. Listen, I'm not all about gotchas or whatever. Obviously, you can change your mind, circumstances can change, but don't, when you've got a dog shit CSGO team, as Astro did do last year, brag about how much money you're putting aside for the roster for 2021 and then just don't even have a team. You did that. I didn't know. But forget made your own bed. You fucking that's like you set up a carport to go off on your own face and then you're complaining to us like, how can you call CSGO a roach motel when you were bragging about how you're going to pull aside loads of money and make a big team? And also, listen, I tried my best to just do it from the analytical side, but I do think that is actually pathetic. The fact that him and Nifty just had to be like best fucking pals for 2 years or something and accomplish absolutely fuck all in the game.
Nifty's still on the roster.
Is he technically? I'm not aware.
They don't have a team and Nifty's still there. It's fucking insane. Like, how
you owe your money or something? What the fuck's going on?
No, it's madness. Like, honestly, like, to make business decisions based on this. Like I say, I wouldn't be worried. Put it this way, I wouldn't be worried about going after journalists on social media. Here's what I'd be worried about. Let's say there is a future where one of your players turns out to have done something very, very wrong and is about to get banned for it. And let's just say another hypothetical. You knew, you'd heard about it, and you went and made those recruitments anyway. Turns out investors and people like that, you have to do your due diligence when you make decisions like that. I'd be more worried, hypothetically, in a video game, what I was going to say to those people, not arguing with journalists on social media. I'd like to explain your terrible fucking decision-making processes that you've made religiously ever since you fucking decided, well, franchise esports is good. Activision Blizzard will make this money. Also, as well, I'll bank on this, clip it. As I said, I'll be gone sipping fucking cocktails and counting my money, right, by the time this clip's relevant. But when Overwatch dies in a few years, he will turn around and go, well, it was always a flawed league. This guy who literally bickered with everyone who ever called it out, right? That's what they do. They try and rewrite fucking history, right? And they know they can get away with it in esports because we just delete fucking years worth of history every fucking day. And we let arseholes tell lies. They get a little bit of money, they go away, they got holes in the shoes, they come back with suits, and suddenly they're treated like they're fucking Jesus, like, coming down to fucking give us all a sermon. Never me. Never me. So go read that article, maybe spread it around on social media. Right, should we talk about CS?
Yes, do it.
Right, well, I'll hold off on the Nihome stuff, because that would obviously be the ultimate segue. But let's do your thoughts about the ESL Pro League. Obviously, I know you did a video. I literally watched it before we prepared for this show, talking about Na'Vi winning the Grand Slam and what a great achievement it was, and how actually you seem to think that achievement is a lot more, I would say, a lot more legit than I do. So just some thoughts. I guess we'll start there. Na'Vi obviously winning ESL Pro League. Where do you place them in terms of the great teams now?
I mean, they're obviously bottom of any list you want because everyone else did it on LAN, aren't they? So the problem is, like, one of the points I make in the video is that as ESL did essentially make a mockery of the premise of the Grand Slam by allowing online tournaments to be included. The key thing is this. Because for so long, the only team it looked like it was going to win was Gambit, and it was just a question of when they would win, not if. Well, they were going to win and have it be 100% online tournaments. So, put it this way, that video would have been incredibly scathing. Like, ESL better fucking thank their lucky stars Na'Vi won. Because at least in Na'Vi's case, they had that fucked up loophole where somehow IEM Katowice 2020 still counts, even though it's over 1 year ago. And at least Na'Vi won the other big LAN. So at least there were two LANs, yes, still no crowd, etc. But at least there was like some legitimacy given to the overall result. So to me, it's like there was only one team could have done that by the nature of the fact there were only two LANs, which was Na'Vi. So that sort of like slightly redeemed it. But put it this way, if we're looking at other teams that won the Grand Slam, this is nothing compared to that. If we're looking at the greatest accomplishments of all time, look, the money part, you can't argue with. $1 million is $1 million. But yeah, the results, nothing comparison to like things that people have done on LAN. I mean, put it this way, I'll give you an example. Actually, Hastro's team back in the day, MBK and Shocks and all those guys, they once had a streak where they had 14 tournaments in a row where they placed top 4. on LAN. That's about 1,000,000 times better than winning 2 LANs and some shit fucking online competition where you have to play against bozos like Heroic who are half of them, but you're cheaters. So, like, mate, the problem is LAN will always be king, even if we're going into a weird hybrid phase now. So to me, it's like, at least Na'Vi made it more legit, but I still personally think it's an offence to the game that the Grand Slam itself was like that. Like I said in my video, why couldn't it have just been renamed? Why couldn't it just be called, like, you know, the Intel Online Era or in a calendar tournament or something? You just make it a clear distinction. But here's the problem. As I say at the end of the video, that isn't accidental. In the same way as ESL doesn't accidentally never put a credit at the end of the video saying edited by Billy Bob 747, they do it intentionally, guys. They don't want you to know who edited the work. They don't want you to know that some of these games were online. They want a fake storyline that just goes like, wow, look at this, Na'Vi won, and then they're one of the great Grand Slam teams, and like he's on some fucking like WWE level shit, mate. He even had the gall. This is what an actual fucking moron Carmack is when it comes to Counterstrike. By the way, in case people don't know, Counterstrike, the main game of ESL for the last 10 years or so. Oh, don't worry. When Carmack used to be on EXS Reality, a Quake forum, he for years dismissively called Counterstrike a game where you just hide behind a crate with an MP5 and shoot people in the back. Now, what's great about that is anyone who's ever played Counterstrike, even back in 2003, knows that's a take of someone who's played for half an hour. And he said this for years. And then, by the way, had actually went away and sold out to the level that his job is fucking promoting Counter-Strike tournaments. What an actual clown this motherfucker is. He had the gall when Na'Vi won ESL Pro League in this massive $1 million. Think about the context of this show and the things that we've criticised. He had the gall to do a tweet that was essentially like, of course, don't forget about Flamey, who won Katowice 2020. What about Flamey? It's like, do you mean the motherfucker who was holding them back for 5 years? He would, if Flamey had still been there for any of the other 3 tournaments they wouldn't have won them, you daft cunt. If you even followed your own game and the ESL circuit, that EPT, that you have Alex and fucking Sponge, by the way, freelancers, keep commenting, guys, about how like I'm a dickhead for talking about Flashpoint stuff when I own fucking stock in the company. You're out here just selling your ass for pennies just to be the idiot who gets pies thrown in his face, right? When they come out and they all brag about that ESL Pro Tour, if you knew even the faintest modicum of what Na'Vi did to actually become the best team on that tour, you'd have to know it involved kicking Flamey. So my point is, like, as usual, ESL just lives in some dog shit fucking WWE world. Except the difference is, it's like if you did WWE storylines over like real like Olympic wrestling and you were just fucking up all the people's career narratives just to make your dog shit story go well. So the problem I have is, great for Na'Vi, they are the best team, even a cool story of how they sort of did it with youngsters and all that. They win the $1 million. It's an interesting detail a lot of people won't know. It's actually boosted Simple way up the career prize winning things. He's basically just below Astralis players now. So there's a lot of positives, but mate, it's one of those ones where even though they're only minor things, it just triggered loads of shit that I hate about the industry, basically.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. See, this is exactly what we needed, a good old fucking old man bitching session. Fuck this podcast. Like, I don't even want to talk about CS anymore. I just want to go fucking absolutely nuts. But look, here's another aspect I will say that I don't think people have thought about, and I wanted to get your take on it. I think it's great what Intel does in terms of putting up that money, that mill for the Grand Slam. I also think as well, in a way, it's almost like a tragic indictment on the CS landscape that we need the money to be there to explain a sort of cohesive narrative about why these tournaments matter. And to be fair, my understanding is I think ESL is going to be reworking the league structure soon, maybe for next year. But do you think, right, the fact that we've now had 3 teams win the Intel Grand Slam might make Intel go, hang on a minute, we're putting up this mill every time and it's meant to be hard to win. And even in a fucking online era where we're trying to make it harder to give away, we're still giving it away. Do you think there's a chance they decide that actually maybe They don't want to do it anymore.
I can't lie, especially after this last one, where, as you say, within a 3-year span, like 3 teams have won. Like, there's never a year where someone just doesn't win. Right? The problem with it is this, right? You can tell by the way they actually structured it. This is another point I made in my video. Because of that whole thing, which was a very cool mechanic, by the way. In theory, it's a great idea. The idea that, like, if Vitality had won that match, they get 100k for sort of denying you the Grand Slam.
Yeah.
The problem is no one's ever successfully denied anyone ever. So as a result, it never does work as a mechanic and sort of slow down other fuckers winning. Someone just always wins. So 2 things. One, yeah, there's a part of me feels like we might be in a world where it's like, and for Grand Slam Season 4, 500k prize pool. Because listen, I wouldn't keep giving $1 million away every fucking year. That's just like a tax at this point in time. And then the other thing is this, even though people will say, but listen, they know they're giving away the $1 million, you know, in a sense, they want to give away the $1 million, you know, it's all fucking PR and all that. It's like, listen, that will never make sense for the same reason I'm about to explain now. A similar scenario happened in esports history, right? Which is when Fatality was no longer really playing games that much. He was sort of on the way out, but he had all that like big, like he had Creative and AMD and all these fuckers like were in partnership with him because he was the guy, right? He was like the guy who was like Michael Jordan of gaming. He started just doing things where he would go to all these different conventions and he would play randoms 1v1. And the point is because he was playing, like obviously back in the day it would have been Quake or Painkiller, but eventually he was playing Doom 3, right? Because he was playing games that in theory are rock hard to beat someone 1v1 in. Obviously he would just never lose. In fact, the joke is at half of these conventions, it'd be like if you got a kill on him, you'd win a little prize, you know. But then what happened was, as part of this big thing, he did this thing where he went and he played Doom 3 against a famous Chinese Quake player called Rocket Boy on the Great Wall of China. It was a brilliant concept for a PR thing. And if Rocket Boy won, right, because they were thinking, well, first of all, no one beats Fatality, and also, like, listen, this guy was good in Quake, but he wasn't like the best the Rocket Boy. He's just some fucking guy. They made it like a massive spectacle. Like, if he wins, he gets like $125,000. And so obviously, you already know where this is going. Like, wah, he won the game, didn't he? So even though, right, I was told by some like fucking creative or whatever, I'd like Fatality, like, no, actually, you know, like they understood at the beginning, like someone could win, and they wanted him to win. It was a good thing. I was like, how could it be a good thing, right? When he could have saved the 125k.
And had all the publicity anyway.
Yeah, like logically, miss. Listen, don't literally feed me horse shit and tell me it's chocolate. Like,
I know. Literally look at you and go, oh, it's fine. I mean, you know, we had the money, we had to spend it. Like, yeah, where's that company now, eh? Oh man, madness, esports, what a mess. So here's something as well. We did it, Reddit. The PGL majors confirmed. It's all done. We've got dates, ticket prices. So guess we'll kick around some of those details. But just before we do, because again, it's just going to be one of those episodes, isn't it? Not Rez. Not my beloved Rez, Duncan. Not my beloved Rez. You know how much I love Rez. Guy doesn't even follow me on Twitter. Heartbreak, right? The guy doesn't even follow me on Twitter. I follow him, but I love him so much. And I'm the one guy.
I've just seen it. Oh, yeah. I don't want to be sick in my throat right now.
It's so bad, isn't it? So, anyway, when it was announced, like, and keep in mind, PG, like, literally knocked you sick. PGL, when it was announced that PGL have actually brought it over the line, and we are going to be doing the major, and you know, we'll talk about the ticket prices and all that in a moment. Rez did a tweet saying, "Thank you to everyone who made this happen," and then just tagged one person.
Not only that, by the way, you're all thinking like, oh, it must be a big power player. Oh no, it's someone who I've never heard of, and it just says comms and PR nip.
Yeah. And it's this myth again.
68 followers on Twitter.
It's this myth again that we owe the major in Stockholm to NIP. Like, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Like, it's like, unless when the major happens, like Silvio does this and it's Hitcham Shaheen underneath, what are we fucking doing here? What are you talking about? Also, as well, just on the subject of Hitcham, him and Carlos did like a CEO watch along with the matches. He's a humorless prick. It's got to be the guy. Carlos was tossing him fucking gold and jokes.
I saw, right, Carlos is doing so. I thought, fuck it. In fact, I was doing a watch party for our sponsor at the time. I even thought, fuck, he's going to take half my viewers, isn't he? But here's the sad thing. I remember noticing with it, it's both CEOs. Like, Why would anyone have any interest in what the Hitcham guy said? I don't know if you guys don't know this, but he's not even a guy with charisma. He's actually shit on camera. Like, the thing is, he's only good for being a slimy bastard in an office somewhere, getting dickheads to take credit for it. I don't know why he would think he could go on the media.
No, but yeah, you know how some people do have like compartmentalized personas, you know. So I'm always thinking like, oh, when you put him in a relaxed setting, he's going to warm up, and it's going, you know, there are people like that, you know, like even Patrick Bateman could have a good time, you know what I mean? But like, Mitchum, just nothing going on. But anyway, yeah. So this is of course the major. It is going to go ahead in Stockholm with a crowd. Looks like some. Well, I mean, Serendipity has lined it up, even though, I mean, we're like 35 days away, I think, from it. So not a lot of time to get down to the nuts and bolts, but I'm sure PGL have a contingency for it. I haven't seen a lot of apologies for all the people who intimated PGL were going to secretly pull out and hold it in Romania because that's what they really wanted all along. Weird that nobody wants to say those suggestions are outrageous, that those tabloids that ran that were wrong. No one. Oh, okay, yeah, of course. No, my bad. We only support the journalists that lie in esports. But I saw the prices. I think it was $40, you know, a day, or something like $200 for an event ticket and stuff. And to put it in context, I did see some people complain about that. To put it in context,
Sweden, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, to put it, yeah. Well, I mean, not even that. Which, by the way, yeah. I mean, trust me, the ticket price is the least of your worries. Try getting a taxi. Try getting a fucking taxi. But when we used to fucking be in fucking,
it's outrageous. It's one of the most expensive places to be.
When we used to have to get to Jönköping, the middle of nowhere in Sweden, you're like, fuck it, I can't get a train. It's too late, but I must get to DreamHack. I'll just get a taxi. That will be €5,000. Like, oh, just fucking shoot me in the head. But anyway, no, I mean, like, the Overwatch League charges that for a ticket. The smaller franchises. So, I mean, I hope everyone can see that's great value for money for an event in Sweden. But I'm super stoked. It's like I say, the serendipity aspect is the crowd's coming back. Restrictions have been lifted. As far as I can tell, the only sort of I mean, I wouldn't even call it a concession is that they are saying, you know, they don't even say you have to be vaccinated. They're saying they want a vaccine preference, which I think everyone does probably. And then obviously there was a bit of a brouhaha around the statement. People are idiots. There was a statement from Silviu saying from 2022 onwards, we will insist competitors show proof of vaccine.
If people don't know, this is how stupid the top voted people that you all vote for on Reddit are. Even though the statement said from 2022, there was people going, so does that include the major then? Just ask yourself what year it is, you dumb cunt. Is it 2021? Well, that's not 2022 onwards, is it? Like, this isn't even... Mate, we've gotten to the point now where people don't even read. They just see a word and go... Yeah. Into the comments I go, and they start asking, like, mate, the amount of times also that I've seen people just saying stuff in the comments where it's like, some of them even admit like they don't follow Counterstrike. Why are you on the CSGO subreddit then? What is this? Like, you know, this isn't Google. You don't just ask people what's going on. Like, what's going on with this then? Like, man, how would people
literally do that on Reddit? People literally do that because how the algorithm works is if a topic from a specific subreddit trends enough, it goes to the front page overall of Reddit. It's one of the most interesting topics.
I forget which one it was, right, dude? Where no joke, it was like a fully upvoted thread, and I just took the title of the thread, right, and put it in Google, and it told me the answer to what they were all like debating and asking whether it was the case in the thread. It's like, so you don't even use search engines now? Is this real?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, that's what they do. They go, hey, from the front page here, can you fill me in on what's going on? Hey, why would you care? It's just random information. If you want that, pick up a fucking encyclopedia and do that. You've got the same experience, you know. It's like, and it'll probably be more useful because all you're filling your head with is a fucking hobby you're not even interested in. But I mean, you know, anyway, yeah. So just to put a pin in the major stuff. It is going ahead. We've got the tickets. But yes, people were going, rest in peace, Chris J. He won't be able to attend the 2021 major, the one that isn't insisting competitors are vaccinated, and he doesn't even play for a team. It is announcement. But basically, because Chris J said, I'm not that bothered about getting a vaccine, honestly, again, he made the mistake. He talked about the cough. Lesson learned. He said that. Everyone was like, yes, in your face. Chris J will not be competing at any more CSGO majors in his career.
No.
I want, so.
And that's no notice. He doesn't have a fucking team. Like, out your mind. I know.
He's just been doing his own thing for like a year. That'll show him. And then, of course, the other thing that started, and it's just as well I didn't tell you about this. I'm glad you've got all your energy out of you before this one. There was a little chain where it was like, all of the talent pool in CS are far right. So I wonder who will be able to attend because they are anti-vaxxers. I was like, well, this is I'm double jab. How many more jabs do you want me to have?
Tell you what, I want to know, when does double jeopardy fucking ever kick in, Richard? Like, if I've supposedly been far right my whole life, I must be able to get away with a whole bunch of stuff now, mate. At this point in time, why fight it? Like, what's going on?
I know. It's just ridiculous.
Far right means nothing, literally. Means fuck all.
They were going Anders, and then Moses was there. It's like, he is a skinhead, like. It's so demented. Like what's happened to people's brains. It is mad. But anyway, I'm super stoked that we've got the major coming up and it's going ahead and PGL are doing it. And thank them, not NIP, because they've done fuck all in reality, except have a cup of coffee with a politician.
If I had to guess, they called up a politician who, by the way, wasn't relevant to this case and had no power whatsoever. And secondly, here's my other guess, because I can just say things like this. I guess that they were behind all the bad press for fucking PGL and other people involved with this, and that they were the rabble-rousers with all the contact to those tabloids. So if anything, these were the cunts actually potentially ruining the major.
Yeah, yes. So look, we've done it again on this show. One of the things we do when we're not...
I definitely don't believe that Rez, the player, thought of his own accord. I think I'll just thank this random guy in comms. It's almost like they're so stupid at NIP. They just take turns. All right, Device, you have to make a thing now. Right, okay, it's your turn, Hampus. Right, come on, Rez, you haven't done... It's almost like they just spread it around or something, don't they? Like, they just take turns to sell out.
Oh, it's ridiculous. So look, we couldn't avoid it for too long. We on this show, it's not just two angry, red-faced boomers shouting into a webcam, although that is part of its charm, I admit. We also, of course, do sprinkle crumbs of information in which many of you miss because you're not intelligent media students like me. So we did say, I think it was the week you went away on holiday, that, I'd heard rumors that Config would indeed be leaving Complexity and had sort of had some pre-agreement with Astralis. And lo and behold, that is the report that is circulating now. And, I don't know what Astralis is going to look like if that move happens. I fear for the future of Complexity, for sure. But this move seems insane for a number of reasons. The first being, first of all, I think you're putting a lot of faith in Glaive raising his first child. Spoiler, not a lot of sleep, not a lot of free time. And building up a powerhouse team with the only player we know that looks like for certain will be there is Config, well, apart from Glaive. In an org that, as we'll get to, might be having some sort of exit strategy. Who fucking knows?
Might not even have the same management.
Yeah, might not even have the same management. Zonic, almost certainly not there. So you're not going to have one of the best coaches. And the one they had lined up is a cheating rat and isn't there anymore. So you don't even know who your coach is going to be. So it seems to me, if I was a player, that's not a desirable move unless you are absolutely giving me the bag. I'm talking Shroud to Mixer, levels. Yeah, then all right, let's talk. But then on top of that, if I'm that org and I see a guy who walking through an airport breaks his motherfucking wrist to the point where he has to have actual surgery to sort of pin it back together, and then he's tweeting out, haha, I'm grinding, because he's like, please, got to get the bag. It seems to me that, that would be the time I might go, let's wait and see how you heal, actually, and we'll come back to this talk that was tantamount to tortious interference. So I'm very surprised that this does seem to be going ahead with all these recent developments, but so it is in Counterstrike. What are your thoughts on the move?
Yeah, I've got a couple of angles. First of all, as you pointed out at the end, this isn't even a slam dunk for Astralis because unfortunately he has just broken his fucking mouse hand. That's the part I think people aren't acknowledging. It's his literal mouse hand. It's his right hand. So as a result, like, listen, if you don't know the way like bones fix, etc., like they obviously don't go perfectly how they were before. So this isn't a joke. In theory, it might fuck up his grip, the angle that his arm's on. Obviously, he can't have been using it as much in the meantime, which means you can lose your form. Like, it actually isn't a fucking guarantee that he comes back the same player. I certainly hope he does. Obviously, it's a very rare scenario. We just almost never had this happen. So you hope he comes back. I would say, like, for example, people like Guardian seem to come back. I will say, Olaf Meister never properly returned from his hand injury. So there's pluses and minuses to that one. Then on the side of Astralis, right, this is where, again, fans obviously have no hook into the industry, and people who run fake league accounts also know absolutely dick all about the industry. The interesting detail that people are forgetting is what you just said, that Zonic is not going to be there. Now, in a world where Zonic is not there, that itself is actually a pull. Because one of the rumours before this config news was that it'd be like Zonic and a couple of the players were going to go as a package deal to elsewhere. Maybe they were going to go to Complexity. Maybe an NIP might be on the table for them. They obviously need to fucking rescue device. So, like, in theory, right, some of them were supposed to go as a package. So I think fans are thinking, you keep the same team you got now, you bring in config as your star to replace device, and we're back in business. But no, there's a world where, as Richard's saying, config might think I'm joining Astralis and getting all this money, and he doesn't actually think through, like, well, who's going to be there? And in the end, it's fucking Glaive with a baby on his arm, Lucky on his other fucking arm because he's a child, and the fucking config going, oh, my wrist hurts a bit. It's like, give me a break. Like, so here's the thing. Like, yeah, basically, there's literally no parts aside from Glaive that we know are going to be remaining at Astralis. Like, everything else in theory's in flux, up in the air. Now, maybe there's a world where they keep a bunch of players. It's a good lineup. Who knows? I suspect that's not the case. Like, I suspect even the if config, if you need to learn one lesson, mate, even the Astralis players who do get paid an enormous salary, if even they're like, you know what, just getting all this money constantly thrown in my face gets a bit old after a while. Fuck me, mate. They want to leave the org where they won everything and they get all the money. Maybe take a hint from that, because here's the problem. People already are going to sadly think, like, well, if Config wants to go, it must be good. Listen, I love him as a player. I even think he's a cool guy. Tell you what, if I had to ask someone, if someone put a gun to my head and said, someone has to pass a maths exam designed for an 11-year-old boy, I wouldn't be picking config as my stand-in to do it. I'd take people who don't speak English over that. Like, he ain't the smartest guy. I'm just saying he ain't the smartest guy. So I could imagine he's just naively walking into this. I will say one factor that, unfortunately, a lot of people outside Denmark will never understand is when you see the images of them doing that, like, Nexus training facility and all the little kids lining up, there are tons and tons of parents with, like, a 10-year-old kid with an Astralis jersey on. One thing you cannot dispute is Astralis have mastered the modern day technique of optics. Even though it's all bubkis, there's nothing there. There's no substance to the org. There are no assets worth anything except the LEC spot, which is League of Legends. Even though they're actually not in a particularly good space, they're basically dining out on the fumes of the Astralis CSGO dynasty. It doesn't matter, because in terms of how it appears culturally, they've won that battle. Like, they shit on North in that particular sense. Like, they really do have, all the government are involved in fucking, like, mate. So as a result, unfortunately, I noticed, like, Danish people, even when you can take them individually outside of the bubble and go, look, you know it's Astralis, they're fucked up, they've done this, that, the other, they still all sort of like that. It's almost like the music starts playing and they all just dance to the fucking Astralis thing. Like, everyone in some fucked up sense who's Danish does want to work with Astralis. So it wouldn't surprise me if this move happens in that regard, sadly.
Yeah. I'm still wondering when we're ever going to get to the bottom of what happened with. Do you remember their big sponsor that they had over at Astralis? That Esports.com, that when they announced that $1 million sponsor.
It's even come back. Have you noticed that? Hasn't it come back as like a different website?
Well, now, yeah, somebody bought the domain, I think it is. Yeah.
I still think that to me, that is almost up there. It's not directly, but like the fact that those people were criminals. It's like this shit where everyone's just scamming everyone with crypto stuff now in esports. It's like, why is this industry? Like, it's because what's mad about esports is, like, Think about like the skin shit. It's the same thing back in the day when they had all the dodgy skin sites that everyone was advertising. It's not like it would be some like tier 3 player. It would be like Flamey or Navi in a major with it on his fucking knife. And you're like, holy shit! Is everyone just cool with like actual criminal behavior just directly overlapping in your face? Like, how are people cool with shit like that? Because I agree, that should have been such an insane black mark on the Astralis organization that they essentially took money from people who then just defrauded like their own investors or whatever. What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm probably that's gonna be one of the ones I'm gonna write up because I don't think people realize that it was like I want to say back end of 2019, the people that ran that got arrested. And
they were nailed as far as I know,
yeah, nobody talked about it. It's like it's just fucking mental.
That's why you start to wonder, mate. It's a bit like the match fixing. Who are these other orgs? So wait a minute, you're an enormous org, rival of Astralis, much better org, way better teams, investors, but you don't ever want to poke a bit of that in the public. You don't ever want to go, hey, why's no one follow up on this story? That makes me wonder what the fuck you guys are doing behind the scenes. That makes me wonder who you're caught in.
Well, I mean, it's not even that. It's just like, I mean, you only have to look. I mean, one of the things I'm trying to set up at the moment is was happened while you were away. Was OG were being
that thing where they might just like sell the team or get rid of all the players or some shit, right?
Oh no, that wasn't that. Well, I mean, if that is happening, news to me.
I saw some weird news like that.
But I saw basically what happened was they were accused of promoting a dodgy crypto.
Oh, that's right. And then billing on it like them and some other team did it, right? Yeah,
yeah.
Team Secret or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was Team Secret. Yeah, and obviously the NFT stuff's been a big issue over in Dota, at the moment. So what I did was like started looking into it, and I said like, listen, if you want to fucking have that just come up every time you guys are going to be talked about, this because it is a black stain on your, like you said, it's a black stain on your org. Or you can, send somebody out and let's have a talk about it. So I think the CEO is going to do an interview and basically explain by the early accounts, based on the preliminary questions I've asked, they basically said, like they scammed us too, essentially. So we'll dig into that and we'll wait and see what comes out. So the other news from Astralis was this story that you brought up. Yeah, which was, and I was actually surprised by this one as well. This
with the gall of Mikhail Clementoff. I almost admire it. Like, he is such a fucking cocksucker. It's unbelievable.
This was a story published at bt.dk, and it said Brondby, famous team there, famous sports team, and Astralis were close to a large-scale merger. I'll just read it, the translated version. A particularly sensational merger was close to becoming a reality this winter. The Danish football champions from Brondby and the sports giant Astralis were secretly negotiated to merge. The plan was to create a strong Danish group in the field of entertainment with a lot of synergies, and the intention was to finance the deal through the issuance of new shares and cheap loan financing, the report says. The project eventually fell into the ground when Brondby's major shareholder and chairman of the board, Jan Beck Andersen, finally pulled the trigger after opposition from several board members. The idea was that the two listed companies should be run as independent companies, but the current Astralis director and former FC Copenhagen CEO, Anders Hersholt, would be appointed CEO of the entire group. Jan Beck Andersen was allegedly appointed to a role as vice chairman, while the founder and chairman of the Danish sports organisation, Nicolai Nyholm, was appointed to a seat at the end of the table as chairman. The negotiations took place over several months before they finally fell to the ground, and the project is now completely shelved. BT has been in contact with sources, and they confirmed the merger plans are no longer going ahead. So
this is mental, because think about this. This is how much of an actual fucking used car salesman Nicolai Nyholm is. Here's the thing I'll give him. I've never been in a business meeting with him, but he must have the gift of the gab. If his secret is like, it's like my joke about Peacemaker as a coach back in the day. It's like they must just need to get you in a room, and then it must be like fucking Code Geass. Like if they're within like 6 feet, they activate the shit in their eyes that hypnotizes you. Because this motherfucker almost went from It's a player-owned dog. I actually own loads of player-owned dogs. How that could ever exist as a sentence, I don't know. It doesn't make sense. I own all the player-owned dogs. Wait a minute, actually I don't. Now I just own Astralis, and Astralis is an enormous cultural phenomenon, even though, as Doran just said, the only value asset it has is an LEC spot, which doesn't even have anything to do with Counterstrike. He almost flipped that. He flipped it from an org into a multi-game org into almost getting the dumb motherfuckers at Brøndby Football Club, a real football club with enormous history, to make him the head. They almost literally were like, no, that's like he cocked them so hard they thought they were like the fucking B side of the card, as it were, in, like, you know, the boxing terminology. Brøndby thought, well, listen, we're just like an all right football club, but if we partner with the enormous Astralis, of course we'd have to have Nicola Nihon be the head. Like, yeah, exactly. What are you talking about, you fucking mentalists?
I love the way they talk about the structure, because it's what Nicola Nihon always does with any business. He looks at how we can essentially have 2 or 3 businesses that appear independent, appear to be rivals, but actually there's one ring to rule them all. He fucking loves it, mate. His entire business model is Sauron. He's like, listen, I'll give you these 7 rings over there at Brøndby, right? And you over there in Astralis, you can have 3 rings, and don't worry, I've got these great people over here called Esports.com. They get 9 rings. And I've just got this 1 ring here, and don't fucking worry about it, mate. It's so fucking mental that's literally how he does business.
I almost admire the sort of grift in the motherfucker.
No, fucking mate, I tell you what, like, I never thought I'd say it. I'm so sick of this industry, and everyone's a fucking bellend anyway. I'm starting to love him. I'm starting to love. I'm falling in love with Nicola Nihon, because he's just so shameless.
I know,
the rest of them, they try and hide it. They do fake apologies. He's just behind the scenes, legit dispensing ring rates on a daily basis. Like, I love it.
With his melted fucking plastic surgery face, where it's like, oh, I'm just 40 permanently. Yeah, of course you are. Give me a fucking break, but you look like a candle just melted in front of an open hearth or something, mate. Give me a break. He's got one of those faces where it just shines with no light source anywhere.
It's incredible, mate. It's incredible. Like, his entire head is made of Botox. It's unreal. It's like, you know that scene where Patrick Bateman's just peeling off the fucking skin and he goes, I simply am not there. He's like that, mate. A combination of Patrick Bateman and Sauron running esports orgs. Fuck it, I'm in. I love that guy. I take it all back, Nicola Nihon. The last 5 years, all the criticism since you got here. I love you. I want to get to know you. I want to be you. I want to be you.
The esports industry deserves him, and he's like fucking Scarface. It's like, just let him go wild. Just fuck them all. They're all criminals anyway.
Exactly. No, it's fine. Yeah, exactly. It's like you're watching Tony Montana go, and this is just out of order. This, Tony. Oh, you said you had your word, but you've betrayed. Oh, but go on, go off, King. Go off, King. Yeah. Mate, it's just he's your best mate. Why can't he date your sister? Oh, you murdered him, have you? Oh, well, I suppose. Oh, now. Yeah, well, I suppose in a roundabout way I can sort of see where you're coming from. Oh, you have to decamp to a fucking mansion surrounded by cocaine and shit. Yeah, all right, then, yeah. You are totally on board with it. And even at the end, even though it's all his own doing, as he gets blowed in the back, you feel a bit sad, don't you? It's mad. What a fucking mad tale. But yeah, anyway, so a secret merger that fell apart over in Astralis land.
One last thing I'll throw in on Nicola Nihon, because obviously I wasn't on the episode, sadly, where you were talking about the thing, which, by the way, in the same way as I will always say, I have no proof that Flusher cheated. I just think he cheated, right? In the same way, I'm going to say it right now. I think Nicola Nihon was behind the entire thing with Hunden. I think the whole thing was a setup. My joke would be, it's like he convinced Hunden on the way out to rob the heroic bank, and then when Hunden got outside, Nicola Nihon was in the getaway car and just locked the windows and then drove off, and fucking dickhead Hunden was just stood there going, bloody hell. And then at the end, because Nihon just pays for his bail money, like, Hunden's too stupid to even know he was ever played. And he's like, oh, it's all right, he's still got me behind the scenes, lads. It's all right. He said it's gonna turn around if I just lay low for 2 years. It's like, mate, you're getting Lenny. You're just fucking talking about the rabbits. Shut up, you stupid daft gun. So here's the other thing. I think he did do all that, but there's even a reason, in line with what we just said, that I can almost admire it, Richard. Because even though he openly denied ever actually owning Heroic until Richard proved it, I think there's a level where the other thing about Nicola Nihon was this. It's like, wait a minute, I'm going to start all these teams, and that wasn't even the best one, and it's now better than my team in CS, but I don't have any ownership anymore because I was forced to sell it by Valve. Fuck that. I brought you into this world heroic. I'll take you fucking out of this world. I feel like there's almost even
no. Yeah, that's exactly what I said on the show. That's exactly what I said on the show, brother. I'm telling you, when you know the history of it all, mate, and the thing is as well, he's such an arch criminal, mate. He's such an arch criminal. He will do the O.J. Simpson bit of "if I did it, Richard." I'm gonna unblock him on Twitter. To be fair, I did call him. I told him to fuck off and called him a cunt. When he tried to reach out to me, and I was like, "No, you don't understand. I'm not the guy you can be friends with. I'm not a sycophant. You know, you can't." And he's going, "No, but what I thought is we could have a No, there's no relationship. No, but listen, you fucking cunt, fuck off. There's no need for that language. Just say what I want in a private Twitter DM, you cunt." And then I blocked him. See. So anyway, what I'm going to take all that back. I'm sorry. I am sorry. I'm deeply, deeply sorry. Let's make history. You and me, Nicola Diop. I don't give a fuck. You can. I will bring the One Ring to you. I don't give a fuck, mate. Fuck this business. I will bring it to you, and let's talk about. Tell me about how you basically set Hunden up to do espionage for you, please, please, please. It's the greatest story of all time, and it's never going to be admitted to until he's like 65, and he goes, "If I did do it." Or Jeremy, not Nicola Nio, for legal reasons.
In a video game.
So that would be an awful video game, that O.J. Simpson simulator. I don't think that's got many.
Nicola Nyholm simulator would be an amazing game. It'd be like
would be an amazing
manager, but you just also fucking everyone behind the scenes. Basically, in the game, you battle against Hitcham Jaheim. He's like the computer controlled boss, you know, and you're just fucking tooling him left and right, telling him device, fucking all over the place, mate, all over the place.
It would be great. I think there was one more story, and then because this is like a high energy show, there's a lot of viewer questions. I think there's some from left over as well. There was one other thing. What the fuck was it? I had it written down. Yeah. Well, then not really all that important, but you can just take your shots because I know you enjoy this type of thing. Oh, actually, no. Before we do it, we didn't talk about the complexity side of the Great Astralis angle. So, if config does leave complexity, first of all, I just want to establish there's definitely a great journalistic article to be written about complexity, from Jason Lake's initial disappointment to let's build a juggernaut, to building a juggernaut after being mocked and ridiculed and derided, using money from the great, incredible merger of the Dallas Cowboys, Jason Lake having turned down tons of sponsors, tons of mergers, finally the All-American GM getting to be part of the America's team, a dream come true for him, and it actually seemed to be working. And then just a chain of catastrophic events, like Mr. Burns with his ringers in that softball game. 9 separate misfortunes. I'd like to see that. And he got all of them, like, you know, Poison's ill, he misses a play in his Yugi, is that, he's broke a wrist. You know, take your pick of all the tragedies that can befall a fucking CS team. And we haven't seen the best of them. We simply, from the moment Orbo pieced out, basically. I'm trying to remember what happened first. Was it Orbo pieced out, or was it Poison got sick first?
I believe it was Orbo before Poison. Is that right?
Maybe. You know, but anyway, you fucking... It's just this catastrophic chain of events, and now you're about to lose one of the best players in the world for reasons I can't even fathom. It can't be spending power. I don't even think it's necessarily based on potential achievements. I still think there's things you can do with complexity to make them improve. Not to mention, you have just brought, you know, Peacemaker coming in and all that. You know, you got to give him a fair crack, but maybe not. So yeah, there's a whole article there. But I think if config leaves, I just don't see. I don't see how you replace a config.
Oh, they're fucked. Because think about it, right? The only person they have who's a really massive name after that is Blame F. And the problem is he's an IGL. So, like, unfortunately in Counterstrike, the best pieces to have are the star players. Like, the joke is, if NIP ever does become good, it's because they've got device. That is an attraction to bring someone else there. G2, the reason they're one move away is they've got Nico. The problem is if you don't have the superstar player, it can unravel really quickly. That's when another player leaves and goes somewhere else. And then, God forbid, you like Blame F leaves, so you're just done at that point. So, no, I think the problem is, like, that was the piece you couldn't afford to lose.
Yeah, I agree. Well, as well, I mean, look, I'll add this because it sort of segues into a story there is one tragedy that's happening in Counterstrike right now. Not just the overall tragedy of what's happened to our beloved team and our beloved business, but there is a tragedy that's happening right now before your very eyes. You may remember Flush's team are out there.
Oh, I know what you mean, yeah.
Well, yes, and I saw them get 16-0'd the other day, 16-0'd by an academy team, Mouse Sports Academy, I think it was. And Sergey's playing for these guys. It's like someone's got to save him. Like I like Sonny. Nothing against Flusher potentially. I did an interview with JW while you were away, and he was saying, you know, he doesn't think he's going to get back into Fnatic, and if he was to play with somebody else, he'd love to do a rollback with Flusher and maybe some of the other boys. You know, if he could persuade Crims to leave, they maybe even get the whole band back together, which would be interesting, but I don't think would have any huge relevance in the modern landscape. But Sergey can't be allowed. This cannot happen. So, like, I don't know if he watches the show. But please don't waste your life like this. Don't waste the last good years of CS doing this. Do not. Get out. And if there's... Listen, here's what I'm doing if I'm fucking over at Mouse Sports. I sell Rops, because Rops is like $1 million buyout right now.
You have to sell him if you Mouse. That's the thing. You'll never get that chance again. You got to... Just for the value of the org, you got to.
Exactly. So if anyone's buying him, like a G2 or someone who's going to spend some money, right? Yeah, I must sell him for $1 million, and then you replace him with Sergey instantly. Boom, and fine. And you hope he gets back to being the 16th best player in the world, maybe more. Remember, when Ents completely tanked, we hadn't seen the best of Sergey. Sergey is still an amazing player that's going to get underused. He cannot stay in this. So listen, if I was Complexity, I'd think about that. I would think about, like, Sergey needs to get got by a good European team. He cannot stay. He cannot stay playing with Flusher, and this is a dead project, lads. They said they had an org.
They all do. Has anyone fucking KNG
no,
in there?
How can
they do.
You don't say you have an org and then go, but if you want to email us, just in case. Like, you don't have an org. You say, I won't have an org. You say, I need an org. Don't worry about taking the hit for looking stupid if it takes a really long time to get into one. Don't worry about that. Stop intimating publicly. Oh, yeah, we've got an org. We've got options. Stop that. Because then the person who might be picking up the phone isn't going to do it.
There's the other thing they do as well, Richard. One of the number one stupid things people in CS do, because they're so young and inexperienced, is they take an offer as like, that's like ironclad. That's in my back pocket. Until anyone signs, you've got nothing. I can tell you, I've literally had scenarios in esports where one time, what the time had been my best paying job, some people came along, flew me to Stockholm for a meeting with another industry legend who was going to be involved in the project, wrote down on a piece of paper, this is a verbal agreement that we will all work together and you can now leave your other job because we're going to pay you 3 times more a month. They never ever replied to another email, but I'm not a moron, so I didn't leave my fucking job and go, well, I've got it. No, I understood until I had a real contract and something that I could take, like I've got nothing. So what these orgs tend to do is this. What'll happen usually is a guy's talking to them from some company. Could be, they don't know the level of interest, but, you know, it seems that he's interested. Yeah, he wants to work. He says he knows us from when we were in Fnatic. They take that as though that was like, you can put that in the bank or something, mate. Like, that's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. Again, if you don't know about business, probably the most annoying thing about businessmen is they'll take like a premise all the way through multiple meetings, months and months and months. And at the end, they'll change their mind and go, actually, I just don't think it totally adds up and it's not the move for us. So, yeah, same thing. Like, unless literally you've signed, you should constantly be saying, like, we don't have an org, we're totally available. In fact, we're open to all offers. And you should try and get everyone through the door you can. It doesn't even matter if you've never heard of them. Because I have to say, I don't think any of these projects are getting picked up personally. I'm amazed the KNG one is. That makes me wonder actually how much they're even fucking spending on that. Because I feel like those guys would have said yes to anything at the end.
Oh yeah, well, look, I'll tell you, I know these players that are out there are getting passed over. It's not, you know, it's like they're going in. The few that have actually had talks are going in with salary demands as if it was 2 years ago, as if it's pre-pandemic.
Problem. Yep.
And they consider that, in their minds, they consider that's the concession. Yes. It's like, no, guys, unfortunately, we're at 2015, 2016 salary levels now, homie, especially for washed-up players. Now, yeah, you'll all have a go in Valorant, and I'll tell you this, all you're doing there, right, is delaying the inevitable. If you're a Flusher type player, an absolute legend in CS, and you want to dilute your legacy a little bit by going over to Valorant because you've got a tax bill to pay or whatever, that's fine. But while you're over there, the game can only be secondary. You're not going to last. You're not going to be there in 5 years. You're not going to be there in 2 years. You are going to get overtaken by Zoomers that when this game finally explodes and there is the aspirational pyramid created by a league, you are going to be getting battered at just high-level public play by 15-year-olds who, and 18-year-olds who've just spent 3 years playing Fortnite, which in many ways, in terms of APM, is way more intensive than fucking CS. You're going to get left behind in your 30s. So while you're over there doing that, build a brand. Actually do something. Mixwell made a tweet the other day about this. And he basically said, he was on a talk show. He was talking about it. And he said, if people only know you as a guy who pulls a trigger on an AWP, they don't care. But if they know who you are and they care about you, they'll follow you no matter what you do. And he understands it. And he's been at, he was at G2, obviously, for a while. He's not like a Hall of Famer CS player, but he's moved over into Valorant. He's doing really well, and he's got 300,000 followers on Twitter, and he's going to keep scaling that up. All of these guys coming late to the game, you've got about 1 year to actually do something. And if you think we're ever going to get back to the 2020s of CS or the 2019s, where you could literally say, I'm on $25,000 a month. I want $45,000 a month. And an org goes, yeah, no problem. You're worth it. Those days are gone. They are dead. They are never coming back. Never. No matter what happens, we need CSGO 2 or some shit like that to even have a chance. Just enjoy it for what it is. But these guys making teams are doing absolutely nothing with their lives.
I have a quick sidebar related to Valorant I wanted to ask you about. I am springing this on you out of nowhere. I just wanted to get your sense of this. Right. I've never seen anyone, bizarrely, unlike the Overwatch League, brag about the numbers in Valorant, Richard. I don't see people going, wow, and look out contrast and that. But ES Charts, as usual, put out their chart that tells you the usual stats, average viewers for the event. So for the Valorant tournament that just took place, the LAN tournament that was in Berlin, right, they're claiming average viewers was about like 389,000. Here's the thing, right? They claimed the peak viewers, and there were 2 matches that were like this because it was the 2 big names, Sentinels versus G2. They're claiming those matches each had over 800,000 viewers. Right, here's the problem, Richard. 1, where are all the articles? Where's all the mainstream stuff? Where's all the massive bragging about these numbers? Because my problem is this. I look at Valorant and the buzz around that game is so fucking tiny. It's pathetic. It's basically only the biggest orgs and players that are pumping it up and hyping it on social media, etc. These numbers look fugazi as fuck to me, man. I don't know how they've calculated them, how they've boosted them, but I'm just saying, I just don't buy it. Like, I might be totally wrong. I'm not a person who's in Valorant. I don't claim to know a lot about the space, but something about not only the numbers, but the like conspicuous lack of sort of broadcasting of them is something's off with this, mate. 800,000 for Valorant.
Well, here's what's going on, and I'll explain it to you. Right now, okay. What we see is the average sort of Valorant encounter in even a sizable tournament like the Masters or what have you. Their numbers are very up and down.
I've seen some like very low viewers compared to that. Yeah,
40,000
exactly.
That kind of thing
in the same tournament.
And so what's being assessed here in this first year, right, is brand strength. Right, brand strength. Why? Because Riot only want the strongest brands. When they created LCS, they TSM and CLG were a shoo-in, and Cloud9 were a shoo-in, Team Liquid were a shoo-in. There was no way you could have a league without these teams.
Of course.
And remember, Riot, for their closed league, they invite who the fuck they want. Now we all know a very similar LCS system is coming to Valorant with a North American focus. In fact, we've already seen from some decisions, around broadcasts, around talent, around format. Actually, Riot has a preference towards NA already in Valorant, despite the same. It's always going to be that way. They're a California company, which some days they do regret. But this is what's happening here. And so when you see 800,000, you're seeing a Sentinels, a G2, the people who've already established themselves and have already made it effectively. But also as well, core streaming is the elephant in the room that nobody talks about. And that is that they are bringing in influencers that they are actively encouraging to play and talk about Valorant, with much like they did with the League of Legends, with big YouTubers. They're repeating the same model. You know, it's no coincidence that you're seeing Pokemon hitting Immortal in Valorant and there being a lot of buzz around it, around the Valorant circles. Here's one thing I'll also add. You know, I think the one thing Riot, ironically, given their history, can really sort of congratulate themselves on is the way they have baked in cross-gender play at the start of the esport. There's not going to be any arguments or bickering about segregation or any of that, or having isolated female leagues. We've got women's coaches, women's players playing with men. Not always the best teams, but actually, we've got high-level streamers in the highest level of public play. It's not going to be a conversation that game's going to have in 2 years. And you will see, you know, women playing in the franchise league when it comes around, you know. So they're set to dominate esports for the next 2 years. But it's not going to be esports as me and you know it.
Right.
It's going to be a melange of influencer culture and slick, bro, and the only people who are going to be allowed to play at the level Riot want to operate at are those who are already successful. So when you look at a graph of viewership and it's all doing this, when it's doing that, Riot's taking notes. When it's doing that, no one's talking about it. And just one of the reason, if you were an org that had paid 25 million for an Overwatch team, 20 million for a Call of Duty League team, and were basically holding Activision Blizzard's feet to the fire, demanding that they do something about that failing league, the optics of you then going out publicly and sort of shooting the last pressure you have of going, look at all his viewership, look at all his viewership. No, you keep that card close.
Right.
You want to play that. Yeah, you play that card when Activision Blizzard don't listen to you no more. You go out and you say this rival game. Or, that's just how you play the business side of it. So, and remember, they did this with Overwatch.
Yes.
Remember, all the same owners who are now crying in the poorhouse. They were tweeting out about, it's amazing money opportunities, sponsorship deals, the likes of which we've never seen. Activision Blizzard are really taking us forwards. Remember that. So it's a shell game. You know, you just got to know where the P is. That's all.
I still think to this day, one of the most shameful moments in esports history was that pathetic pile-on day one of the Overwatch League, where they got the number up to 400,000, and then nearly all the stream just fucked off forever. That is actually shameful, because it made me think, holy shit, again, it's like the crypto thing. It's like, holy shit, it's the most legit people who are the fake frauds. You're the one propping up the snake oil sale. What? You're not supposed to be the one selling the snake oil.
The problem, what it always comes down to, is fear. It's the classic. It's not FOMO per se, but it's just a common or garden fear that to stand up and say, I think that's going to fail, and then it has that really good first day, you get called a cunt. People were doing it to me. Remember, I recorded that thing when I was at E-League, the Overwatch League, where, you know, funnily enough, wasn't hosting Overwatch at E-League. But, you know, I said, listen, that model's been tried. It's failed. I think regional esports is a pipe dream that actually diminishes what we have and why it's special. And generally, esports fans don't operate that way, and on and on. I listed all the problems and I listed it. And on that day, I had people, like even industry people, you know, that I've known for years, messaging me going, that video, that's aged poorly, you know, but like there's some fucking Reddit pleb. You know, people I've known 10, 15 years, and they know that I've had good takes by and large, good opinions by and large, and good knowledge about the industry by and large. Was definitely wrong about League. That's fine. We don't get them right all the time. But, you know, certainly my gut read is I'm right about Overwatch. And yeah, what happens is they want to be part of the big grand esports success story, but when it starts failing, they're never there. They're on to the next thing talking about it. You know, it's like, or talking about the challenges, you know, at a time when esports viewership has grown in multiple games, Overwatch has declined during a pandemic. Everyone's still saying, well, you know, the pandemic really fucked Overwatch over. It's kept it alive. It's kept it alive, you idiots, because if they'd done what they wanted to do, their demented 5-home game per franchise, let's all travel around the world. If that had happened, they'd be bust. It would be over. It would be over. They already lied like motherfuckers about that one in Texas. We have sold out all the tickets. You gave them away, you fucking cunts. You gave them away. You literally can walk around the corner from the stadium to a Best Buy, and if you bought a 20p Twix, you got a free ticket to the Overwatch game. What? If your product is so good, you don't need to lie.
You remember, just as an aside, because it'll just bring it back to CS and how we've got a load of clowns in our industry. Do you remember how unlucky ESL got that time when there was like IEM San Jose? I'm going to say it was like 2015 or 2016 or something. It was when they had one where not only could they not sell the tickets, because who the fuck in San Jose is going to go watch an IEM, but they also tried giving them away to some guy and said, like, give them away at like a uni or something. And they just give them straight to Reddit. Like, why have I got this box full of like free tickets? And I was just thinking, like, you can't catch a break in ESL. What are the odds he'd go straight to Reddit with it?
I know. Remember when that happened with that Weezer thing as well? With the print screen.
Shop guy.
Shop guy.
Low key, I'm pretty sure we did get that guy fired. But then again, fuck that guy. Why is he just going, oh, top secret shit? Better put this on the internet. Like, stop! I'm paying you to just fucking print it, you can't.
I feel terrified every time I draw attention to something because you never know what's going to go viral and what the consequences are going to be. But it is sort of my job to do that. Of course. You know? But anyway, so it was another one as well because Lewis Mira, who obviously used to work at HLTV, senior journalist, he's over at the Circle now. He's been killing it lately with these interviews he's been doing. He did one that I know you'll really approve of because it's just so ridiculous, the headline. I'll just read it to you and then try not to laugh, I guess. You laugh, you lose. Arlu on the... It's already good. I've already lost. Arlu on the criticism he has faced over Ence's downfall. Every coin has two sides, and I've kept my side of the story with me. On whether he will ever share his side, at some point, maybe, we'll see. Now, there's a number of problems with this. The first is, if only it was a coin with two sides. But actually, I don't even know what kind of fucking currency this would be. But it's like four sides saying you're a cunt.
Yeah, basically.
It's four sides saying you're a cunt. And the other side, it's going, you're not letting anyone else see.
Richard, until we know the full story, how can we really know who the cunt was? And tell you what, I'm not willing to reveal my story.
I know. By the way, mate, people literally are going, well, I mean, until I know all sides. You do. You've got four. That's got to be enough. That's got to be enough. But anyway,
it's like every other member of NWA going, yeah, Easy 8 did steal all the money and going, well, listen, we haven't heard Easy's side yet. Like, it doesn't fucking matter, does it?
And I guess we'll never know. I guess we'll never know.
Who did steal all the money?
He's died of it.
We'll never know who stole it.
We'll never know who stole it. So yeah, it is ridiculous. But, you know, just the idea as well, like, you've got four sides that say you're a cunt. There's just one secret side. You're not, and can I say that side and see if it's the same as all? You know, there's only one side left. Can I see it? No.
What's being coy about? Like, what's the big moment he's waiting to reveal it all?
You're not in the team. You're 29 years old.
I know. It's over.
Well, what? Now you must. Surely now you must. But no, he won't. So, mate, I just can't believe it. It's like, fucking... I like him as well. He's so mad. He's such a cool guy. I know. He's such a cool guy. Why are you doing this to yourself? So, yeah, I mean, but by the way, as well, Ence's lineup actually not doing all that bad, despite it just being...
No, the joke is, once they had no players anyone cared about, and they'd literally completely sunk out of view, they've actually sort of like low-key been mad overperforming.
I know. It's great. Actually good to watch. Like, I remember as well, because if you pull up the tape, Jamie, if you go fucking back, they'll probably be going, these are just a bunch of no-name players, and Snappy's a fucking has-been. Remember, I'm never wrong, them. Snappy's a fucking... This team will do nothing, and then I'll have to make it to Circle video on the weekend because I get told, like, why Ents can win it all. And it's just my face on a thumbnail going... We're like, fucking... Oh, it's so stupid being a pundit, mate. It's so ridiculous. Like, why does anyone do it? Can't be asked. Right, the money, that's why, yeah. So, yeah, fuck it, that's that. That's all the show.
Also, though, to be fair, though, like... The thing I can't handle, like sometimes I don't know why I do it to myself. It's masochism. Sometimes I will click on the tweet when you do one of those ones, and it is all just people. Like there's always someone, right, whose whole thing is like, whoa, cool it with the hot takes. Like, can't we just wait until the whole premise? The whole premise is
Richard
hot takes.
Lewis. Richard Lewis, react.
You're just reacting.
What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? It's called react. I am a human. I have to react to things. I can't not react.
Also, mate,
I'm alive.
So, like, Skip Bayless and that, like, their entire job is just say some crazy shit the next day, innit?
But like that's the thing as well. The idea that we've ever gone as far as that, the idea we're comparable, like Skip Bayless. I know you would obviously admire him for all the things he's achieved, and I suppose even though I don't really vibe with him as a personality, like I sort of get it. And I know we've both been called the Skip Bayless of esports. You certainly, that's like on the Thorin bingo card. You get that one every time, right? But he is a prick. Like he says stuff that no one could think. You know,
he's had some outrageous opinions, of course. Like this way, and there's another example, Richard, like we've talked about so many times in the past. You know, when people use all this bullshit like language about us, like, are we controversial figures and outspoken and like, mate, I've never said anything in the context of Counterstrike, literally beyond what mentally ill fans think, that comes anywhere close to implying that, you know, the famous story about Dak Prescott, that like basically if he was depressed over the death of his brother, he's not a true captain.
That was shocking.
All the shit he said in the 80s about Troy Aikman being gay, like this is outrageous. This is out of pocket, like a motherfucker. Like, by the way, I'm not going to go full like fucking Nick Diaz, but there's places in the world you just get slapped upside your motherfucking head. You say some shit like that, even if it was true. But like, mate, the idea I've ever said anything, even within the remit of that, like about my edgiest opinion is like, oh, you think that guy's the best? I just think he's the 5th best. Like, people are like losing their mind. Oh my god, I can't believe it. It's like, give me a break.
No, but it's like, I mean,
and these guys are still hanging. In fact, these guys get more money for saying that shit. They get like, the guy comes in, the fucking devil, and just goes like, now you get a $5 million contract for saying that about Dak Prescott. And he goes, oh, thanks, Lord.
Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant. I'll have to undermine people's levels in future.
You know, I just say something like, words have meaning, so people go, and he's going to be working at ESL New York this weekend. Like,
get him out.
I know.
But mate, here's how I just know he is just a troll, mate. He's not legit. Like, you know, because it's like, mate, LeBron. I think LeBron's a fucking asshole, but you know,
it's in his own way.
Mate, he is. He's an asshole. He's an asshole and a shill for the for China.
Oh, the Chinese thing completely ruined his whole credibility, mate.
Yeah, you know, but hey, at least he got to sell Space Jam, which was awful.
That's how you know that not literally, in a video game, metaphorically, the devil is fucking you in your ass for your paycheck. You made Space Jam 2, for fuck's sake, and then you pretend as though it's like a career accomplishment. I know. That's not even a good thing to sell out. What
killed it for me was, right, you look at some of LeBron's comments about NFL owners historically, right? A separate league, a separate sport. It's so and he says that, right? And you know, think about how insulting that is to your fellow athlete that works over there as well. You know, like, I mean, it's such an, again, it's just beyond out of pocket. It's like, you know, maybe Twitter for athletes isn't a good idea at all, actually, the more you think about it. But, you know, then, right, when someone goes, oh, have you seen what's going on in the Xinjiang Autonomous Region? He goes, and the guy from the fucking Rockets or whatever came out and said, well, about the Hong Kong stuff. And it basically, LeBron goes, you know, listen, at the end of the day, we're just here to play ball. We're not politicians. I'm like, mate, that was the end of it for me.
Yep,
like, in my mind, I can't even add him to the GOAT contention stuff or any. I can't. I just have to forget. Heartbreaking. I remember him coming through when he was 15. You knew how good this fucking kid was going to be. I remember his first deal with Nike. That was when I was still vaguely interested in basketball. You just knew that he was going to be great, but he turned into a prick. But that being said, Skip Bayless is outrageous, LeBron James. He's just so man. You can't say this about him. Like, you know, he triple-double. Yeah, I don't think LeBron's really trying. They're like, you're fucking out of your mind, mate. You're out of your mind. And he does it all the time. You know he's... That's the only comparison that's true between you and him. Because I know for a fact you go after players based on some of their fans. I know you do.
I would even say that's my biggest flailing in my actual job, is that basically... There are players who are overrated, but it's like they don't really warrant that much attention. But yeah, the fans are just so fucking annoying that essentially, I'll totally admit, you want to hurt the fans. You want to go, right, okay, you want to fucking worship this guy and build your whole life and identity around him. I'll explain why he's a cunt. There you go. No, I will never lie. I'll say that. But listen, I always say I'll put some fucking mustard on the hot dog.
Oh God. So anyway, yeah, let's get on to the questions. We're already sort of there. We're just talking about basketball. We've given up. Why do an esports podcast anymore? What is there left to talk about?
There is that 2,500 a month. You know, just saying.
Yeah, but that mate, right?
It's true. They would pay for it.
Would you double your money if it was like me and fucking Duncan doing like, I don't know, porno reviews or something on a different platform? Obviously, of course you would. You're not really here for the esports. It's the most common piece of fan mail I read. I've seen it loads while you've been away, by the way. Loads of people messaging me going, I don't even give a fuck about CS. Dead game, lol. But I'll listen to these two cunts talk about anything. Can't wait for Duncan to come back so you and him can talk about absolute meaningless bollocks. That's the future. We all thought, right,
sure.
Petty Grievances would have been a good podcast. Then we should have done that patriarchy thing and we never did it. And looking back, it's just as well.
We'd have
been
focus the title.
Yeah, I know.
Because the whole premise is ironic. Obviously, it's ironic. I know. There's no irony anymore.
Whatever. You know, we would have
all I'm going to say is
you wouldn't as a guest every week on the patriarchy. That's the gag, you know.
It wouldn't have been great. I'm just going to say, if in your bio they put former Breitbart round, it was a podcast called The Patriarchy. I know it's over.
You have no idea. I still think to this day, mate. I still think to that when me and fucking Milo, you're not the list, had a meeting with a radio executive to have our own radio show on Sirius, Milo and Dick. Can you imagine if I pulled the trigger on that? Mate, I'd have to go somewhere. I'd have to like be living in Mexico, fucking not looking at it, mate. That would have ended everything. Christ, I came so close. I chose E-League. Thank God. Oh God, thank you, past Richard. Apart from the Lord of thing, that wasn't great, but you know, whatever. 2015 was a crazy year. Anyway, right, questions. Chingu. If you had to build a new team using only benched or free players, who would you pick?
Probably that. Now we have to remember who's benched or... Like, here's the thing. Logically, if I have to build a new team...
Let me go. I think there was a list. Some nerd virgin type person put up spent their time doing my research for me. No, there was someone actually made a really good list the other day. I literally was looking at it going, is he a free agent?
Yeah, just remember some names.
Let me just get it. Free agent.
Because I actually think, by the way, the mad thing is, you're going to be surprised. I think I could build a pretty fucking good team.
I agree. So here we go. Right. A list of active players without a listed team. Yeah, and it's actually on Wikipedia as well. So this is all legit.
Wikipedia.
I'll put it in, mate. They've got everyone. This is fucking. It's gonna be too hard.
No, I think I can make a good one.
Let's have a look. Right, so obviously Flamey's at the top.
Holy fuck! How long is this list?
Yeah, well, see what I'm saying? Look, mate.
But they have sort of done it by like the most famous ones are at the top. To be fair.
No, I think it's chronologically. I want to say, maybe not.
No, it's in a random order. Right, here's the thing. Of the players on there, right, being obviously also said I could take bench players. Right, here's what I would do immediately.
I don't think bench players are there either.
Right out the gate. So obviously for my IGL, I'm going to take MSL, right? He's available. By the way, he's mad overqualified. Should be in the top 10 team right now. It's online CS, so everyone thinks they can get away with like Nexaby in their IGL. So I'll take MSL as my IGL. Since he's benched, I'll take Kenny S, because here's the thing. I'm telling you right now, I will literally stake my reputation on it. If he cares about playing Counterstrike and he puts in the hours, Kenny S will again, unsurprisingly, have hand-eye coordination and hit people when he hits mouse 1. It's just his style of play. He has the most one-dimensional style play ever, but it fucking works when it works. And I can tell you, he just doesn't care at the moment. He's not trying to get into a team. He knows at the moment there's no LAN. There's no guarantee we sort of go back to the world that excited him. So at the moment, he's just out. So I'll take MSL, I'll take Kenny S. Let me see who else I've got on here. Now, the funny thing is, I can even take people off this list that no one else would consider. But essentially, the trick is I'm trying to also take people like in MSL's case where, like, they actually are good. Like, I'll give you an example. Kiyashima, if he wants to play Counter-Strike still, I'll take Kiyashima. His problem had nothing to do with the game. As far as I can tell, I even watched his career when he was in like the fucking the Cloud9 team, etc. He was still a good player. He actually had skills. It's just for some reason he has fucked up every relationship in the game, and so all the players from Envy don't want him, all the players from FaZe don't want him. They never publicly say why. Even some of the Cloud9 people were sort of like, listen, I didn't necessarily hate him, but I don't care if I play with him again. So there's another skilled player. I've already got 3 players that are actually probably could all be in tier 1 teams if they weren't dickheads at the moment. Then whatever, just chuck in 2 other ones. So like put in like, I guess, fucking MSLs there. So you can have AZ, mate. You can have your guy who just is your fucking backup guy or whatever. And then if I had to take one more, I mean, listen, again, just because I know it's just that he's a head case, I'll take Esperanto. There we go. That's not a bad fucking lineup right there. I've got some skills there. I've tried to pick people you'll notice where they've sort of Antonio Brown their career. It's not necessarily that they can't play the game anymore. I haven't gone too crazy. Basically, Kenny S is my big gamble. I think the rest of them would all be fine, mate. That's not even a terrible team.
Yeah, the Kenny S.
I can't believe Semphis is on here, though. Like, is he really available? Like, is he really trying to play Counterstrike? Come on.
Are you going to say no to him? He's fucking hench as fuck. What you going to do?
I love the audacity.
You're just going to turn your pocket inside out and say, go on, Corey. For me, like, I admire the Kenny S pick because I think, I agree with you. I even think there's a world where he could still get back into G2, frankly.
No, I don't think it's impossible. I think they should at least consider it if they need to.
I mean, the way things are going at the moment, for sure. But I'm so in on this Smoothie redemption arc right now.
That's not a bad pickup either.
Mate, I think he's sick. I read comments on Reddit. It's like, have you ever seen this guy play? People are going, he's only good in tier 2. He's not good in tier 2. He's godlike in tier 2. That means he should be in tier 1. How good would he? How good will he be in tier 1? Who knows? I'd still admit, even though Chiquinho turned it round in that ESL Pro League tournament for Fnatic, I still have Smoothie over Chiquinho. So I think him being on the bench, he's a no-brainer for me. I think MSL's the best of the bunch of IGLs that are available. I'm trying to even think of like some stealth IGL that could like come out of retirement and do the job that would still be relevant, but there just really isn't anybody.
Not really.
Not up to
the power like existence or some joke, mate. There's no one left really. Is there?
So MSL's on my team as well. I probably put Rush in for the support work. I think him being cut's like a mad, sad story, and everything that's gone on over complexity is, I don't know. I don't really get it. Didn't feel he was sort of surplus to requirements. So he'd be in my team doing all the stuff he was doing in complexity, making everyone better. Now it gets interesting.
Oh, one other name I might have considered, by the way, is MBK. I think it's mad he didn't get a team. Because I look I get that we're not in the LAN era, but I look at teams like FaZe, mate, you could use him. He'd be better than Olaf Meister. And MBK wasn't bad at the end.
Yeah, no, mate, I'm a big fan. I'm sort of discounting him because I know he's in on the Valorant stuff right now.
But I'm assuming,
Valorant counts, bringing people back.
If I tell him tomorrow I can make him a pro, I think he might consider coming back,
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, he's a good shout. It's just in my team, you can't have Russian MBK. Sure. That's really tough because even though they would occupy the same role, they're not the same type of player in that role. That's really hard. But yeah, I'll say Rush just because I liked him. I've always liked him. I think he's a great lad and a real selfless teammate. And then I'm going to just count Flush's team. I'm just going to count Flush's team. It's not a real team. It's not a real project. They're all bench. They just don't know it. It's like those dead motherfuckers at the start of Beetlejuice. They're dead. They just don't know. They don't know until Beetlejuice rocks up. So
I will just say I've got one addition to my team.
Yeah, go on.
I'm also signing as my 6th man, Yugi, to a 5-year contract, just so your motherfuckers can stop signing him. He's not ever playing Counter-Strike again. Not on my fucking watch.
You've done everyone a service.
I know.
Yeah, so no, I'd take like Sergey straight away out of that team to go with. So you got MSL, you got Smoothie on the AWP, you got Rush, you got Sergey and Sunny. That's better. That's better than whatever Flusher's got going on over there. Like, and they can't even keep a steady roster. And just as another aside. If you're looking for an org, maybe try and keep 5 fucking players together for 1 fucking week. Just a thought, like whatever. So there you go. There's your team. Your question was outrageously long, but I love you. Thanks for the money. BP 420. Why did Titan go under? Oh, mate, one of the biggest myths of all time. Kaylee killed Titan.
That one killed me, dude, because people really believed that as well.
Oh,
even though, if you look at the timeline, it was like over 1 year prior. They'd also done a bunch of silly signings and stuff in the meantime. And also, this is one thing we'll never get through to fans. It doesn't matter how good you are on the server. That doesn't translate to how the org is unless you parlayed that success into making the org bigger. Who the fuck was Titan before CS? I'd never even heard of them. They were nobodies. So as a result, it doesn't surprise me that a bunch of nobodies have a good Counterstrike team, and then that just fizzles out, and then the org goes nowhere. Like, what other games were they a major player in? Fucking nothing, basically. So, like, the problem with that is, like, that was just a shit, but sadly convincing excuse they just roared off into the sunset from, wasn't it? Like, I think that team would have died even if Kaylee had stayed and had won the bloody major. I don't think it matters.
No, you see, what people don't realise is as well, they don't know what was going on behind the scenes, and that was that Titan was an organization that was essentially self-funded, and it had been doing that thing of constantly piling up stuff from the buffet and then not being able to finish their dinner. There was no revenue streams. There was like people putting poker winnings into it to keep the lights on, you know, and that has got fuck all to do. If you, with a great team, can't get into a room and get a sponsor, that's on you, especially back then. It's got fuck all to do. And you just have to look at the esports business as it is now. Has a player, like, okay, here you go, fuck it, sorry, I'll just use FaZe. Why not? They're my go-to scumbags. They've been involved in every type of scam imaginable. They have told every type of lie imaginable. They have abused their fans financially in every way imaginable across the board, and they continually do it. They've just announced deals with McDonald's and DC Comics, and everyone in this shit rotten business applauded like fucking circus seals. So don't tell me any of it has any bearing. If you're big enough, you get the money. If you're big enough, they let you do it. They let you rob your fans. They let you scam people. They let, you know, everyone tries to contextualize. Yes, well, I suppose there is this weird trend of FaZe influencers and people under the FaZe umbrella knowing how to do these pump and dump schemes by waiver, for instance. And yet, you know, we shouldn't scratch that surface. I'm sure it was just some over exuberance for some crypto that was posing as a charity. Nothing to see here, guys. Here's your McDonald's deal. Here's FaZe to tell us all about diversity and inclusiveness, as I've said many times, you know, because they'll fucking scam anyone no matter your background. That's the only thing they know about diversity. So fuck that org. And yet they're cutting massive deals and massive checks. So don't tell me Titan having one player 1 year ago who cheated. By the way, you think all these orgs that had coaches who got banned, literally banned for cheating, do you think any of them are talking about sponsors outside of Heroic? You know, has it hurt anyone's bottom line? No. No one cares how the sausage gets made anymore. That's the problem. Yep. We're putting arseholes, lips, and eyebrows in it now, and it's telling everyone it's the same old delicious sausage. It's bullshit. First off, what one individual or band had the most impact on the development of music between the mid-20th century and now?
Why did they ask like full PhD thesis question? I know. I thought they was at least say on us. Like I could answer that.
I couldn't answer that, you mad cunt. What am I going to do?
Mental, innit? Let me think. Because here's the problem. I feel like the obvious answers probably aren't it. Like it's probably not the Beatles. You know, actually, in some ways, it's probably if you think about it, like based on like longevity, it's probably like the fucking Rolling Stones or David Bowie or something. If I had to guess, you know. I mean, he's talking about all of music from that whole span of time.
70 years.
You know what I mean?
I just want to answer it. Just so I didn't.
Maybe U2. That's not a bad shout either. They've been around a fucking long time.
God, don't you?
You don't have to like them. Mate,
I know. You give me indigestion. I fucking hate U2. Not U2. I fucking hate U2 and hate U2 and hate U2. Right.
I mean, the sad thing is, in some way, in theory, if he's saying influence, it should probably actually be some cunt who was like a pop singer, because obviously everything's pop now, isn't it? Like, you know, like I don't know if I can name real bands, because the real bands sort of die out in terms of all become indie and shit. So it's probably some like Madonna.
Right, hang on. Let's just see. Let's just see here, right? I'm going to Rolling Stones. Right. Let's see what Rolling Stones. No. I mean Rolling Stone magazine.
All right.
The 100 most important bands. Right.
Okay.
Let's see let's see who they've got. Right. Oh, actually, it includes artists. It's not just bands.
Okay.
Right.
What's the highest band though?
Yeah, let's see what their number one pick is. Right. Come on, fucking hell.
I mean, theirs is going to be something like Rolling Stones, I'm guessing. Maybe fucking Radiohead or some stupid answer like that. That definitely isn't it, but okay.
So I'll give you their top 10. Right, David Bowie in at 10. That's an outrage.
Seems like an
obvious only one. 10.
I would put it higher personally.
Well, of course, he's got top 5. He's gone across all genres.
Absolutely.
Created music right up until his death.
Yeah.
Put out a wicked fucking final album, didn't he? Fucking, that's an outrage because especially when Madonna's at 9, like, come on. Don't do.
That's why I'm saying they're doing like the pop angle and all this shit, aren't they? I know.
Sex Pistols at 8.
That feels too high.
That's way too high.
That's
Sabbath at 7.
Black Sabbath isn't a bad shout. People don't realise how influential they were. Definitely on loads and loads of rock musicians starting bands and stuff.
Jimi Hendrix at 6.
That feels like a bit of a reach, but fair enough.
I mean, massively influential, but dead. Young.
A long time in that period.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like...
kids in the 2000s when it was all Skrillex, listen to fucking Jimi Hendrix as a come on, mate. I know.
It's like, unfortunately, didn't get to produce
Fortnite or something. You know, maybe it could be in Fortnite going, all along the watchtower, and they could all say, all
along the watchtower, while Zoomers pelting with tomatoes. Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Fortnite. Kraftwerk in at 5. That's an interesting one.
That's ridiculous. Come on.
Kraftwerk might be in my top 10 most influential bands.
Here's the thing. As an electronic band, they were
no one listens to them, right?
No one listens to them. I guarantee you, if you took 100 people off the street,
no one
even name one track by Kraftwerk.
But being influential and being listened to isn't the same. That's not the same metric.
True. That's why I expect any second they're going to drop fucking Radiohead, even though there's no universe where that should be true. But okay, just because every dickhead wanker in sixth form.
I do love Radiohead.
I like the old stuff.
I think I'm one of those pretentious wankers.
Nothing from the last 10, 15 years.
Oh mate, this top 4's gold.
Come on,
James Brown.
Every song's the same because you can't understand what he's saying.
Out his mind.
Mate, if people don't know the classic joke of like one of these sketch shows in the UK in the style of a pub. No, it was fucking Bob Mortar or whatever, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to sing this.
Loves Vic and Bob,
his actual singing style is like he's doing a parody. Like, and then people are going, incredible.
I'll tell you what, though, he fucking rocked it right up until the end, mate. He was still going. He was still on that fucking Yale living that dream.
For sure. Listen, he was James in it like a motherfucker, wasn't he? Yeah.
James Brown's all right in my book, mate. Rolling Stones in at 3, Beatles in at 2, and their number 1 pick was Elvis Presley.
Actually, that's not a bad shout. To be fair, he did influence a lot of shit.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me. I wouldn't have instinctively picked one of those. Maybe Zumba. What is your favourite rant?
Like as in the one we did.
Yeah. No, the favourite rant you've ever heard from anyone.
Of anyone.
In the span of human history.
I mean, I think logically...
These questions have been outrageously broad today.
I think to pick that, it would just be something like, it would just be whatever my favourite Bill Hicks bit is or something, something like that.
Play it from your fucking heart.
He had a lot of good ones. Yeah, that's one of the great ones.
Yeah, when he
dude, it's what he's saying. The line I like in it is that he wants his musicians to die with a blood. Daddy, he's got a blubber. Then shut the fuck up and play.
Yeah, I know.
That's one of the best ones of all time.
He did go fucking insane there, no, but I always loved it. It's the one thing that, like, growing up watching Bill Hicks, I assimilated into my personality quite quickly. When you just lose yourself in the righteous indignation, your eyes just rolled up in your head and you're just shouting because you know you're right. You know what you're saying is right.
The irony is, Bill Hicks is at work probably influenced this podcast and the way we deliver it more than anything else in our lives.
No, that's the mad thing as well, because I've literally read. People always go as well, like, if you say an idea that's kind of like, was introduced via the means of comedy, right? People always say to me going, oh, you're repeating Bill Hicks there. You're doing a Bill Hicks bit. And it's like, no, Bill Hicks took these broader ideas and brought them into a comedic form so morons could digest them and have access to them.
It's like memes, yeah. He made them palatable.
Exactly. He essentially took high intellectual concepts and then put them into mimetic comedy and did it unbelievably funny bits on it. That's what's happening there for future reference. My favorite rant. Fuck. I'm trying to think of people who actually just had a breakdown on air. Like just a favorite rant.
Yeah, obvious what I'm thinking of right now.
Yeah.
He's had a few.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, one of the all-time greats, I will say, just because it's so quotable, is that mental one from back in the day with that coach of, was it the Browns or something? The other one who was going, "You want to crown him? Then fucking crown him." It's like,
oh yeah,
you remember that one? That was classic.
He lost his shit.
That was pure banter. If anyone's ever remember that, that's like a mid-2000s reference, but it was fucking hilarious, wasn't it? I know.
Yeah. It's so hard. It's so hard to say. I'm trying to think if there's one thing I'll go back to. I'll tell you what me and Sam do like, and I've been sharing it with a friend recently because he's not really into, our world and what we do. But the one thing that me and Sam will go back to and drink from the well of time and time again is Wings of Redemption.
I thought you were going to say Dog the Bounty Hunter asking that girl to marry him. That's a pretty good one for me.
No, I know you love that. I know you just want to do what. I know you are planning a Dog the Bounty Hunter special with me that we're going to do, which,
by the way, I will say, I've just remembered actually, because I referenced Kanye, right? There was a period, it was in like 2007 or something, like a year or two after that, where literally I remember getting high and I just watched that clip over and over again where he's going, "George Bush doesn't care about black people."
Oh, mate. Myers' face.
My favourite part is when Mike Myers is going, and then they cut, and Chris Tucker just goes like,
I know.
And it's like, mate, nobody can handle it. Because obviously you have to understand he did like break the matrix. Like, not only did no one expect he was going there at all, but they're on a live broadcast and they're all just thinking like, fuck, what do I do? Like,
I don't listen to Kanye's music, and I've never got it. It doesn't do it for me for whatever reason. I know obviously you're a fan and but I like his swagger. I like
he's just an interesting guy, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously suffering horrifically from mental illness under terrible levels of scrutiny. Everyone's enabling it, just letting it happen.
Ely, because it was still 2016, and in theory, like, you could make some argument, like, maybe it's some of his performance, Rich. I used to be literally arguing with Richard, like, maybe he isn't mentally ill, Richard. Maybe it's
he's showing all the signs. I used to shout at you, didn't I? He's showing all the signs, mate. He is. Look, he's asking fucking the guy who runs Facebook for money because he wrote the word synergy on a piece of paper. He's got psychosis, Duncan. And Duncan was going, no, a lot of people are eccentric.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, Kanye's now moved into that category for me with Morrissey, where it's like, I don't even try and defend it. I just go, I don't give a fuck. I just like the music, man. I just, he can say whatever he wants. I just keep making the music. That's all I care about.
Just keep making the music. But I mean, like, listen, I obviously, I think I've made a point before, like, on a serious note. Some of the stuff that's happened with Kanye, it's unbelievably sad. Like when he was running for office and he's getting up and he's crying, he's talking about losing his family, and it's like someone has to stop this, and now he's going to go through a divorce, and that's not going to help him, and everything. You have to understand what it would do to you. If you paid for an operation for someone you care about, and then they die on the operating table. I mean, like you're never coming back.
You'll be haunted by that, even if it wasn't really your fault. It's just because it was a frivolous thing. You'll be haunted forever.
Yeah,
for sure.
You're never coming back from that. So I've got nothing but like insane sympathy for like everything he's going through, which I all believe that's the catalyst that takes us from mildly eccentric Kanye with his own ideas to. Sometimes it's quite sad to watch public persona Kanye.
It reminds me of the fucking Antonio Brown story. If people don't know, if you really only know the news stories about Antonio Brown, you don't get it. Go and look at the hit he takes, and it's like, dude, that hit just changed his whole personality. It's mental. He was just gone from then. Before that, he was just a guy who had a bit of edge, but was a mega player at the fucking game. He's just gone after that. He's never come back. Because I've tried watching him on like Instagram or something. It's not an act. He's incoherent. He's just talking nonsense. Like something rattling around in his brain that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean,
it's tragic.
Again, you have to ask questions. Like, I don't understand.
People who enable these people, that's what makes me sad. Because they're all fucking entourage around there. Just telling them, they're all hating on you, bro. It's like, they're not. This is something's gone wrong, mate.
It like having lived through so many of the NFL players that have died, and
and
in horrific late life circumstances because of the CTE stuff. Or the NFL actually effectively colluded. No, you don't need to be autopsying any of those brains, and then obviously Junior Seau, a fucking amazing player and a really cool guy.
Certainly.
Kind of blows it wide open, but Antonio Brown's sad because obviously we had him at the Raiders. I knew then very instinctively like this wasn't right. I think he was living with Derek Carr for a time, and it was just like Derek Carr, because I think that was the season we did like an All or Nothing documentary, and they were uploading it, that series, and it was just like, wow, they were cutting Antonio Brown out of it every week because, oh no, he's injured, he's not training, and it's like you find out like he had cryotherapy and refused to wear the socks, so he just burnt his fucking feet, and you're like, that's literally how he got injured for us, and it's like, people without problems don't do that type of shit. So anyway, yeah, I actually love that rant because fuck George W. Bush. And how he handled Katrina. So, yes. Right, and the last question, Reykjavik. With Blizzard losing their chief legal officer, will Blizzard add a variety of difficulties, or are they interested in doing everything in hard mode? I don't know if you saw this story. Did you see this? I'm turning into Jay Leno. Did you hear it? The chief legal officer for Activision Blizzard, who's been there for 3 years, amid, right?
Speaking of which, by the way, the Bill Hicks bit about Jay Leno, just go look that up. When he's like basically getting fucked in the ass by Satan as he's like eating Doritos. It's original Satan. You might it's a great line.
I know.
One thing I will never abide by is when on Joe Rogan's podcast, who himself is supposedly like a massive fan of Bill Hicks, is when he let Ari Shaffir straight up multiple times say, think about Bill Hicks stories. He had good points, but he didn't have any jokes. Like,
I know, it's mad.
Are you out of your mind? Like,
I know.
That's one of the funniest stand-ups of all time, mate.
Yeah, I know. Wild,
wasn't it?
But I know Joe has that thing where he doesn't always correct his friends. And it's like,
true.
So that's all right. He does do that.
It's like with DDK, just letting that motherfucker live.
Just letting him to drop you another rap on Instagram.
I know. That's so wrong in itself. We should have had an intervention right there, shouldn't we?
Oh God, why is that even happening?
I know. That's like, did we not just all get around and go, Dan, everyone in this room cares about
we love you, but you're hurting us.
Publish rap ever again. It's not your genre.
It's definitely not his genre. But anyway, so this is the story, right? Activision Blizzard are getting a full court press because the Department of Fair Employment and Housing are going after them. The Equal Opportunities Commission's going after them. And now we just found out that because of hiding all of the internal problems and the crashing share price the negative headlines would bring if it was ever public, now the SEC are in. And they've subpoenaed Bobby Kotick and demanded his emails be presented for discovery. So finally, Bobby Kotick might get wrecked in some sort of meaningful capacity, which is that's a wet dream for me.
No.
Like, you won't see me for a week. I'll be out on the town. That guy is a fucking tremendous piece of shit. And everything that's wrong with, like, in an abstraction, capitalism, but just certainly in our thing, fucking terrible. But anyway, and while preparing for this absolute ramming, and also, by the way, pretty sure these government entities are definitely going at them harder because of how Activision Blizzard handled that whole, China thing and not liking Congress sending them that letter and all that. Now you find out the wrath of the math. But anyway, the legal officer who is going to have to sort of preside with all of their lawyers, all of their counsel, hand over all the documents, deal with the discovery, walk people through fucking testimony and depositions. He's peaced out. He said, fuck it. And on his way out, mate, quote, he said, it's been a challenging 3 years. Oh, that's fucking chef's kiss. So that's what he means about doing it on hard mode, because they're going to have to essentially bring in fucking a new head legal person to handle this at a time of absolute crisis. No matter what Activision Blizzard are telling you, this is really bad. I think it's going to be very hard for them to get out of not paying multiple tens of millions of dollars of fines to each entity. They're going to have to settle. The Department of Fair Employment and Housing one that they were in, that caused all the headlines. They just have to settle that. That's got to go. If we start talking about financial impropriety and shit like that, fucking SEC's going to tear you to shreds. So. Right, there it is. There's the show. Return of the King. He's back. Our sponsors were nordvpn.com/RLS. Go and get a VPN. Please take advantage of that while it exists. And, of course, SteelSeries. Incredible hardware. Type SteelSeries into the chat. !! Steel Series to get the Nightbot link. Follow that link or follow it off the panel overall. Go to their store. Use my name as a code with no space in it. You get 10% off anything in the store, and it's wicked gear. And of course, thanks to the patrons. You asked questions that couldn't be answered by any mortals, but we tried anyway. Our $100 patrons: Benny Kagi, Carv, Cathal, Chris, J-Dubs, Jerky's Minion, Marcus Chiumpa, Tobias Bernasconi, and Will the Weed Wrangler. And our $50 patrons: Adam Ox, Alex C, A-Rammer, BP420, Bacon, Canapacito, CMAC1991, Dancer Master, Echo, Fursock, Frankie, Goody Woody, Gern Kaya, J-Ray, Judas, Miss Alcoholic, Nolan, Atarian, Petty Grievances, Rekovic, Sard Sawar, The Bear, BTC Cash Podcast, Tim Frost, Lonnie, Watchdoge, Zumba, and Zarathenia. That's the return of By the Numbers. We'll be back next week. Until then, take care of yourself.